I only knew you up until about 5 minutes ago as just Scott's Rides. I thought that was your God-given name. I thought
you're pretty cool last
yeah.
name.
Yeah. The Mustang build and now the Chevel build, like I did all that research on the Camaro, and then I was like, Roadster Shop's where it's at. That's what I want to do. So like I haven't really done that research on the next two cars. I'm just like, Roadster Shop's it. That's what I'm getting. But, you know, I did do a substantial amount of research and looking at different options and, you know, just putting on, you know, different front and rear suspension, all those different kits versus doing the full chassis. And ultimately I felt like, I was like, Roadster Shop is the best there is. I want to build the best. I want to try to build the best. And also, when that thing showed up, I'm like, there's no way this body's going to fit on this chassis. Every alignment point was perfect. I'm like, I can't believe it.
You finished the Camaro, you're driving it, you know, you're having fun. How quickly are you thinking about the next project? Are you thinking about it while you're finishing the Camaro?
Pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, like I
you really do love the build process.
I do love the build process.
Most people do. What made you want to become a pilot?
My dad was also a pilot, so
really?
I just kind of grew up around it. And
what's your favorite plane to fly?
The Airbus is a really nice flying airplane. I mean, I've flown the 717, 27, 37, 57, 67, MD-88, MD-90. And the Airbus series while I've been at Delta, so I've had a pretty good. I've always been a fan of Matt Damon, and he ended up on my flight a while back, and I got to meet him. And
that's cool.
We were flying him out to Albuquerque when they were filming that Oppenheimer movie from Atlanta, and I was shocked he's flying airline in the first place.
I'm so surprised he's flying commercial.
I was too. I'm shocked.
With Stallone in his peak physique of Rocky IV, Burt Reynolds is going out on a fucking stretcher, dude. On a stretcher. He's going to go out Apollo Creed level. And yeah.
Bert had 4 inches on him and played football. He got a scholarship to play football.
Reach advantage on Ivan Drago? What happened there?
Another episode of Oil and Whiskey. This episode is brought to you by WeatherTech. WeatherTech's cargo liner provides complete cargo area protection and coverage to defend against daily wear and tear.
Laser measured for a perfect fit to the vehicle's exact make and model.
Raised outer lip keeps messes contained, avoiding damage from scuffs, spills, dirt, and all your other daily mishaps.
Great for hauling tools, sports gear, groceries, and more. A tough textured finish helps keep cargo from shifting during the drive. Easy installation and removal for quick cleanup.
For those that are transporting their dog or other animals in the back area, makes cleaning up pet hair, slobber, muddy and wet paw marks very easy. Much more so than factory carpet.
Offered in 4 colors, black, tan, gray, cocoa, to match floor liner and floor liner HP. 100% made in the USA, so you can be assured of its quality.
Go to WeatherTech.com to check out the cargo liner today. This week, we have in person, in studio, the one and the only. I only knew you up until about 5 minutes ago as just Scott's Rides. I thought that was your God-given name. I thought,
you're pretty cool last name.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's Scott Spencer. Double firsty. Spencer's a first name.
Yeah.
Spencer's a first name.
That's a double first.
Scott Spencer, but everybody's going to know you. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people are going to know you from Scott's Rides. The world famous DIY you've built. You're on your 5th build now, right?
Yep, 5th build.
5th build. Before we get into the what I think is going to be a very fun interview. We've got so many questions.
I'm excited about this one. You are the first home builder. I mean, I don't really call you a home builder. You're you're more professional than a lot of professionals I've seen. Right. But you're the first home builder, the guy that does this at home by himself. This is going to be a cool one. We got a lot to unpack here. I got a lot of questions.
Yeah, all that's cool. Cars, cool. But I want to talk about the pilot stuff, right? Honestly. I've got so many questions.
Let's carve out the first hour.
Well, I mean, I was a little concerned about the health of the podcast, how we've gone from Dave Kindig and some of the other guests in this show to some guy from his basement in Alabama. So I'm hoping everything's okay. I'm really pleased to be here.
From Alabama definitely helped you. So you got an in there.
This is our last podcast.
If you've met Dave Kindig in person, you know it's not that big of a deal. So
we're gonna go through this. I got some really cool fan email, and then we're gonna talk about these great gifts that Scott brought. So first and foremost, we're gonna start with the envelope, and we'll bring that up right there, just so everybody can see. If that'll zoom in right there, that's the FGSA,
which is
right there in Boyne City, Michigan. That's actually a tell of who might have sent this. I didn't know who sent it until I just read that. Now I know who sent it.
Boyne City, Michigan.
Yep.
Is that UP?
No.
Up there? Where's Boyne City?
Boyne City, I think, is where
classic location, isn't it?
It's a very classic location.
But he's UP.
No, Traverse City.
Okay, I thought he was.
Isn't that right around Boyne City? Yeah,
it's on this side.
So this is from the one and the only Colt Sievers, the president of the Fall Guy Stuntman Association. Dear Josh, it has come to our attention here at the Stuntman Association that you have been bad-mouthing long box trucks. Another tell that that's who that is. We have a long career of creating the coolest products in the industry, and we risk life and limb to prove what works and what is cool. Folks like you sit in front of a microphone and preach without ever rolling, jumping, flipping, or doing anything remotely cool with a truck. Then try to tell us what is cool and what is not. Have you ever tried to jump a short box truck? We did not think so. He's half right about that. I've tried to jump it, just didn't jump all the way. So we would appreciate if you leave being cool to us stuntmen and women, and we will leave you alone, as too much chatter can lead to strange and unusual accidents that may be a bit uncomfortable for you. That's a threat right here. It's a threat. Honestly, it is only because the Roadster Shop builds such cool cars that we have not paid you a personal visit. And it also came with a really cool autograph by Colt Sievers Fall Guy truck.
Any truth to this?
No. What do you mean? Truth to this is the Colt Sievers?
I thought this was maybe like the real Fall Guy, behind the scenes. That's a fan. We got some
pretty
interesting fans.
We don't know that it's
where
not.
It came from.
We don't know that it's not. However, it's been long documented of our speak and talk about the negative talk about the long bed trucks, long wheelbase. We actually got into quite the discussion the week of SEMA at a what I thought was going to be a fun and inviting party, and turned into a full-blown attack on us about the long bed trucks.
I wasn't present for that.
Yeah, you were there.
Physically.
Physically, you were there. Yes, you were. I held strong, though, and I stood by all my statements. I
want Colt Seaver to stand by his statement and come visit you in person and do harm. I think that would be amazing.
Colt Seaver now? Yeah, show up. I'm not going to beat an old man. I got nothing to... Now, Colt Seaver back in 87? No, I don't think so. But nonetheless, the Fall Guy truck does put a significant hole in my argument about the long bed trucks, because that was a pretty cool truck. Now, it would have been cooler if it was a short bed.
Double down.
So thank you to who I think... It says Boyne City. Don't know for sure. I'll have to look up the address, because it put the address here. If that's from our friend John up there in that classic location. Thank you. Now, Scott, you flew up here.
Yep.
You did bring some amazing whiskey glasses, personalized right there. OW, Roadster Shop. Got our names on them. And kind enough to bring 2 for the guests. Something that nobody's done before. Now we have matching glasses. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
It's a nice upgrade, man.
Very nice upgrade. Feels good.
Well, I'm not a drinker, so I felt out of my depth to bring you guys a bottle of something. Plus, there's going to be a problem getting it through TSA and getting it on the airplane. I would have to wear my uniform to exceed the liquid things. That would be a little weird. So I thought some custom car builders could use some custom glasses. So I hope you like that. And
it's perfect.
If you don't mind me saying, my buddy Gene, he's one of my coworkers. He has that business O&M Craftworks on Instagram, and he does a bunch of laser etching stuff. And he's done some really cool stuff for me, and I really like those.
What do we call that?
We call that,
that's a shout out.
Yeah. When I say it, it's a shout out.
When you say it's a shout out.
When anybody else says it, it's just like talking about your buddy or like somebody else.
He did an amazing job. I really appreciate that. Not only did you bring some really cool glasses that we're going to drink out of, if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify video right now, you'll probably see me partake of some of these. If you're listening, it's going to be the weird noise that you hear, and that's going to be me eating these Alabama Peanut Company peanuts. The best peanuts, they're down there. Unfortunately, we can't fully enjoy them the way I've always told you that you're supposed to enjoy Alabama peanuts. Be like my mom did in a glass bottle of Coke. As my grandfather would say, her dad would call it a Coca-Cola. That's how you pronounced it. It was just C-O-Cola, Coca-Cola. But we don't have that. But these are going to be amazing. Cajun roasted, and then there's some dark roasted over there. I even brought a little dish to put the.
Look at you!
I'm telling you what. Once you eat one, I'm telling you, you're gonna understand.
We go to Bill's Pizza, and they bring one basket, and then you're like 5 baskets later, just can't stop.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably pretty shitty version.
What's also, everybody that might notice this new wonderful Jeremy from Lucky Strikes oil and whiskey hand painted thing. We decided to place it here because that was the best spot. And then the very first episode we go to do, I'm going to have like peanuts right there.
Yeah.
It looks great.
It brings the room together. It needed a little upgrade in here. You see, we got a little.
Yeah. You're the first guest that got to see
handiwork on the mics.
Yeah, we got some
a little bit of everything.
We got some. He jazzed it up. He was out here doing some stuff on the truck, and
I do really like my saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just kind of cut him loose.
Yeah.
I guess you got a reputation. We have a reputation
of being the two idiots. That's the reputation.
Yeah. It all worked out well.
Scott, again, really appreciate you coming up. We briefly ran into each other out there the week at SEMA, and it was brief. It was, hey, man, how's it going? Yeah. Going to see you again next week. Awesome. You had things to do. You were trying to get a 2-week show into 2 days. And we were busy too. So we got to actually meet just 10, 15 minutes ago. So this is going to be great. We get to know each other live with everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we spent a lot of time traveling. So the pilot, the flying, the airlines thing, just let us know when it's enough and that we need to move on and start talking about cars.
Yeah. I know you came here to talk about cars. You're like, I don't want to talk about my job, but
I got to tell you this one story that this just recently happened to us, and I was kind of shocked by this. We're sitting on the plane. It was flying. Was that out to Vegas, wasn't it?
Oh, when they said it fixed itself.
Yeah. So we're sitting on the plane, and the lights are like flickering and stuff, and then it goes just dead silent and just black. And then the pilot, shortly after, he comes back on and he starts saying something about they're waiting for the crew to come out to investigate an electrical issue. And then I kind of wish he just stopped there, because then he went into greater detail. And he was telling us that whatever's happening is causing the plane to completely lose its electrical supply.
Onboard power.
Which to me, I mean, I'm pretty mechanically inclined. I just think about everything like a car.
Right.
And I'm like, that's probably not good.
Seems bad.
And then as we sit there, power's coming back on, everything's good. We wait for like 40 minutes for the crew to come check it out. Pilot comes back on and says, well, the crew never made it, but it looks like everything's working. I mean, sometimes these things just fix themselves. So we should be pushing off here shortly if everything goes right.
Or we could take another plane. And everyone's like,
dude, you have got to be fucking kidding me. Because I'm thinking that's kind of like us saying, like, well, cycle the battery switch. Yeah. And then you take the car out and like the battery cycling, it worked for a couple minutes, but then it goes south like 5 minutes later. Again.
You would be surprised how many turn it off and turn it back on and see what happens. Like, oh my God, it's control, but it's legit. I mean, the back wall of the cockpit, if you ever look in there's hundreds of circuit breakers back there. Everything's got its control, and often that's our first step. Turn it off, turn it back on, see what happens. It'll reboot itself, and it's good to go. So, and something like that where you're sitting at the gate with a power problem, it might have just been the APU, which, once we start the engines are supplying the electrical power to the system anyways. We turn that APU off, so it's like, it's not even a big deal if it's not working.
It must have been a big, whatever it was, we ended up deplaning. Shortly thereafter. Okay. So I'm guessing it needed to be fixed, but it was just, I don't want to hear any of that. Like, just tell me it's either like there's a problem or just sit tight, there's a delay.
I tried to very carefully phrase what I'm going to say to the passengers, to alleviate their concerns, because I know there's a lot of nervous flyers and they don't understand, and so I try my best there not to scare people.
I saw on your video, we emailed a little bit before SEMA on scheduling this, and you made a couple statements of, I hate travel. I hate, flying. And then I saw a couple videos of you coming out to SEMA, and you were documenting that, and you made the comment again of, well, I hate flying. So that's what you do for a living.
I don't say I hate flying. I say I despise air travel.
You despise air travel.
At 6'3", I do not like sitting in coach seating. Like, that's with SEMA show. It was the first time my wife and I had flown somewhere together in 10 years. Like, we like going to Florida. We visit our mom. It was about a 4-hour drive from us, and we just don't fly places. But I do it all the time. I don't want to go to the airport on my off day. I don't want to go through security. I don't want to pack a bag. It's just it's not that I have any fear of flying or I don't like it. I just don't like being crammed in the back seat.
I understand that completely. We talked about we don't really want to watch like car TV shows that much. Or when you go out to dinner with somebody, like the last thing you want to do is
talk cars
sometimes. So I understand that similarity. I wasn't thinking of the physical size and stature thing. That would be, I get uncomfortable in 4.5 hours in a coach seat. That's a long flight, especially when we're going to get into this too, of what your rules or ethics on airline travel, right? There's some things that we all feel strongly that you shouldn't do. It seems like it's done a lot.
Yeah.
Josh he's about to get into.
Yeah, we're going to get into it.
What he doesn't like about sitting next to other people. But if we could only there's at least 2 of them out there I know recently. If we could find them to get them on the podcast to talk about what it's like to get a ginger ale just tossed all over you and your all your possessions, your electronics. Make a nice puddle in your seat. Well, so be careful when you start talking about how you don't like what other people.
That was unfortunate. That was unfortunate for her, but that was, to set the record straight, that was her ginger ale that got knocked onto her.
Nevertheless, it was ginger ale.
Didn't do it by itself. Yeah, I was like counterpoint sitting next to you on a plane.
It's been
love to hear that.
I travel a lot, and it's been 2 unfortunate incidents. And I apologize greatly, but that's still. I would rather have a big accident of somebody that didn't mean to do something versus just a complete unawareness of. I got cranked in the face just landing here, coming back from Vegas, and with that loaded up JanSport. And that JanSport had to be grabbed and redirected onto a better location for him. But we've talked about it. Phil had a really good point, and the other day when we were in the airport, something that we don't like to speak of is the social credit score. Right? People talk about that's coming. It's being done overseas. However, tweaked for airline travel, I think could be a game changer for everybody. It could be an app-based thing, and you're gaining points rapidly, but you can also get points taken away rapidly. And as you gain points and you move, it's like a video game, you move it to next levels, other doors and means of travel get opened up to you. You can show up a little later for boarding. You can do things based on your status. Now you order, and it's so easy to do because you can link it to everybody around you. So if everybody's waiting in line at Starbucks because of your horrendous order at the airport, you don't need any more pumps. You don't need any more cream. You don't need any more stuff. Just a coffee. Just get a coffee. You're at the airport. Roll through. Now, if you do that and you're holding up the line, that's like a ticker. You're losing points by the second.
Put some thought into this.
I have.
We ran through a lot of.
Yeah, we ran. But
is everything out of your pocket? That's a simple. Then most people can't pass that test before going through the screening.
Why is it appears, these can't be first-time travelers, but why does it appear as though so many people, as soon as they enter the airport, it's their first time for everything?
In public.
The lack of situational awareness of some of these people walking out of the terminal is unbelievable. They get to the bottom of the escalator and they stop. There's about to be a pileup behind you. It's unbelievable. I don't know it. God bless our flight attendants that deal with all this. I get up there, I get in my hole. I talk on a PA behind a bulletproof door, and I don't have to deal with any of the idiocy that commonly is going on in the back of the airplane. So they're great people to have the mindset to do that job and be able to put up with it.
Anything that moves your person, any people mover, any moving sidewalk, any escalator, anything, even the trams that are in some places, as soon as you step on something that's going to take you somewhere, it's like you shut your brain off completely. It's like, I don't have to do anything. And it's mind blowing.
Except for those 2 people.
Oh,
in
my
Kansas
God.
City.
Yeah, we were in
Have we
Kansas.
brought about that?
I don't know if we've talked about it.
I don't think we did.
Have you ever been to the Kansas City airport?
The old one or the new one?
The new one.
Yeah.
So they got that great major thoroughfare, the 2 terminals together, and they've got a pretty long 2 moving sidewalks. So we are just entering the first section, headed to the other terminal, and a couple, man and wife, are just exiting in our way the wrong direction. They've walked the whole 2 things the wrong direction, and
each one's a quarter mile.
And at no point, this had to be the funniest.
We watched them struggle. We stopped. We all looked at each other and were like,
"There's got to be."
It wasn't like a young couple that was doing it as a joke. This wasn't. 60-something years old with a bunch of bags and stuff.
It had to have been a 45-minute journey. But at any point in time, there was no time that they were like, "Oh, stop, just give up,
go back to the start."
You could have just all you had to do is just stop walking. They just continued and continued. Oh, just a little bit further. Just a little bit further.
God. We were dumbfounded by this one.
Yeah. We actually have it on video.
Yeah. They don't want to admit defeat.
I guess not.
I think it was something like you. They're just not going to lose.
Yeah. But even if you did that for the first one, you get off and then you say, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it again because they separate.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this morning in preparation for airline talk. It's almost like when you get to the airport, all of us, whether you believe in evolution or not, if you just take the Neanderthal scale, where you're just like full blown primate, and then you start to stand up, that scale of, Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon and all that. We're all at different places in life on that scale, right? We've seen those, mouth breathers, and then you've got, the smart people. As soon as you enter the airport, it's a reverse. So based on whatever level you start, you reverse, faster or slower. That's what happens at the airport, because even us and other way smarter people, if you're in an airport all day long, by the end of the day, then you start getting territorial, whatever, and you start, this is my space, right? So you get that way, but then if you're already like midway on the scale when you get to the airport, that's the person that's like, hey, everything out of your pockets? Yeah, absolutely. And then you go through and they're like, what's that? Oh, that's my phone. What about that? That's a water bottle. What's that? Oh, that's a knife. All the things. Well, your pockets are full blown loaded up. It's amazing to me. I didn't know if you had some like secret insight, or if at the end of the day, it's just like, no, there's just stupid people everywhere.
Yeah. Dude, that's life.
I think that's just the way it is.
I can't imagine. You talked about the flight attendants. The TSA is who I can't. Although I will say, God bless them, especially everything they're having to deal with right now, and show up and deal with all those dumbasses. When everything's rolling smooth, and like there's been those times where like they're almost waiting on you to like, are you about to pull your laptop out? When they haven't like said the rules. And no, laptop's in the bag. They're just waiting. And then there's the whole red crotch thing. The red crotch thing, I think, that's a thing to screw with you, because I get it all the time.
The red crotch?
Yeah, the red logo on the crotch when you go through the thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
I don't know, dude.
Do you like one? You're not drinking?
I've been starting to wonder what's going on with that with you. Every single time.
It's like a prosthetic.
I think you're wearing tinfoil boxers, dude.
Just to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a little frustrated with TSA, not the individual workers, just the policy and time. Like, we have what's called known crew members, so we kind of have our own line we go through at a lot of airports, and then sometimes when you scan your ID, then you're random, and then you got to go through security, and it's like, sometimes they're like, oh, you got too much metal on your belt or whatever, and I'm like, I'm flying the airplane, man. Like, what am I going to do with this belt buckle? If I got bad intentions, I don't need this belt buckle. So right. But they're just doing their job as they're instructed to. So it's not the individual worker, but it's just like the policy. Sometimes I'm like, if you're going to trust me to fly this jet around with these people's eyes in my hands, could I please just get a free pass through security?
Yeah. The individual people is not the thing. It's like you said, it's the policy, but it's the moving target. It's the not knowing what the rules are today. Obviously, with the shoe thing that's kind of became nationwide, that's a little bit easier. But it was always you're trying to listen ahead if they're going to tell what the rules are, or you're watching people. And is it belts on or belts off today? Is it shoes on or shoes off today? Are they running fast? And they're like, no, don't take stuff out of your bag, or you do take stuff out of your bag.
I think they just like yelling at you no matter what. They don't tell you just so take everything out. Guy said, no, don't take it out.
Yep.
You just get locked up and don't know what to do.
I think they're also reading your facial expressions too to see how you act, and are you like super nervous about stuff? Well, anyway, last flight thing. What made you want to become a pilot?
My dad was also a pilot, and so
really?
I just kind of grew up around it. And I think honestly, looking back at over my career, like watching his pay and lifestyle, and was more of an influence on me becoming a pilot than the actual love of flying airplanes. Now, once I started flying, it's been a great job, and it's been a great career and a great way to provide for my family. But I get a lot of questions now on social media, particularly from up and coming pilots, asking about work-life balance and family life. And I will say, as the son of an airline pilot, like when I'm off work, I'm off work. I have no obligation to work. Whereas most wage earners in my category of wage earning, they got a lot of extra work they do when they come home. Like, me and Jeremy were talking about the hours he puts in, and maybe not having time to work on his car projects on his own because he's too busy here and stuff. I don't have that. When I leave the airport, I'm done. I'm off. So my dad was like, he ended up being the best man at my wedding. He was my best friend. We had an amazing relationship relative to my friends I grew up whose dads were similar wage earners in other businesses. It was a great family event for me and the way I grew up under it. So I kind of think that was my influence more, like just the way it was for our family, and that's just kind of what I knew. And back then, I don't fly much now because flying standby is difficult. The flights are all so full. Back then the load factor was like 60%. So I mean, I flew everywhere we wanted to go first class. This was before frequent flyer program. So I'm up there 6 years old in first class with an ice cream sundae. I'm like, this is great.
This is the best way to fly.
Yeah, why would I not want to do this? So that's really what got me into it. And I'm a super homebody, and I have really no interest in flying outside of work. So I'm a little different than a lot of pilots. A lot of pilots live and breathe being a pilot, and that's their identity. That's not me. I'm very thankful for the career I've had and how it's provided for my family. But like the day I last fly a Delta jet will be the last airplane I ever fly. I would never spend a single penny to build an airplane, or I get a lot of that on social media too. Why don't you build an airplane, man? I'm like, I'm sticking with cars. I'm a car guy. I fly jets to buy airplane or to buy car parts.
What's the path to becoming the commercial pilot? And you start military and then...
Yeah, generally it's either military or civilian training. I enlisted in the Air Force when I got out of high school and was, in the reserves while I was in high school or in college to get money for school. And then only officers in the military fly. Well, the Army has warrant officers that don't require a college degree. But my intentions were to be a military pilot. When I graduated college in 1996, it was really a downflow of military pilots, so I didn't really have the timing and opportunity to do that. So I had done Auburn University has a flight program, so I had done all my flight training there and started at a regional airline right out of college, and then a couple of years after that moved on to Delta, which was like the end goal job.
When you get to Delta, I know you got flight hours and then you've got captain and stuff, but routes wise, what's the path, or like what's the goal, or what's the coveted routes?
Well, that's a nice thing. Everything's done on seniority. Generally, the bigger the airplane, the more senior it is. So like when I started, we still had flight engineers. So I was a flight engineer. Now we're down to just first officers and captains. So, you start as a junior first officer generally on a smaller airplane. And then you can kind of work your way up through the bigger airplane. And then you may start at the bottom on the smaller airplane as captain and kind of work your way up. But your initial assignment is given to you. After that, it's all your discretion. So you can be junior on a bigger airplane, or you can stay senior on a little airplane, and it's kind of to each their own. So I'm just a domestic guy. Another thing is my dad flew international his last 10 years of his career. He aged poorly and died young. That back side of the clock time zone stuff really just seemed to wear him out. So I have no interest in doing long haul stuff. I'm at a point in my career where I fly one day trips. I haven't been in a layover hotel in a year and a half. I wake up in Alabama, I drive to Atlanta, I go to a Caribbean island, I fly back, I drive home, do that a couple days a week, and I sleep at home every night, and that suits me. There's a lot of guys that my seniority are international wide body captains, and they're flying over the world, and that's what they want to do. And so it's kind of each your own thing. And there's a lot of talk of like quality of life versus pay. I leave a lot of money on the table doing what I do, but I'm very happy with it, so it's fine with me.
What size plane do you fly?
I fly an Airbus 319, 20, and 21, so about a 200-seater is the 321.
What's your favorite plane to fly?
The Airbus is a really nice flying airplane. I mean, I've flown the 717, 27, 37, 57, 67, MD-88, MD-90, and the Airbus series while I've been at Delta, so I've had a pretty good grasp. And pilots often debate Boeing versus Airbus, which is better. There's not many pilots that have flown both that like the Boeing more, not for safety or anything like that. It's just a comfort thing. And the Airbus, I have a side stick controller, and so I have no big yoke that's between my legs that's in the way. So in that airplane, I'm extremely comfortable. Like when we're up at cruise, I can kick my seat back and I can cross my legs if I want. I can sit comfortably. There's room to stand up in the cockpit. Like a 737, I flew those. Cockpit's tiny. You got no room to move around. It's very uncomfortable. So for me, again, being a tall guy, kind of like why I don't like flying in the back of the airplane. The comfort factor of the Airbus is nice, and it's very system-wise, it's very nice too, and it's very user-friendly and pilot-friendly.
When you're doing a plane change or going to the plane you've never flown before, what's the onboarding or the training?
It's usually about a month for a full checkout. It used to be you would have a ground school in person where you'd learn systems. Now it's basically all computer-based training. So we do the computer-based course to learn the systems on our own ahead of time, and then we show up and we take like a systems test on that, and then we move to, they have like cockpit procedures trainers or flight training devices, which are like non-motion, non-visual simulators where we learn all our procedures and stuff, and then we kind of roll into simulator training, and that process generally takes about a month. And then the first time we actually fly the airplane is a passenger revenue flight. So that people might find that kind of interesting. They have special training captains that you fly your first so many hours. They call that initial operating experience. So we'll fly, the first couple trips with, like, even though I'm a captain, I'll have a captain in the first officer seat with me supervising.
What's that announcement like to the
We don't say, hey,
first timer,
long time listener, first time flyer.
After that first landing, be like, that's the best landing I've ever made in this airplane. It's also my first one, So we kind of just leave that out.
Yeah, I got you. How many years of experience do you have to get to, and also, is it a commission-based thing to hit the chemtrails button, or?
The chemtrails isn't as popular as it used to be, but I can't post a flying video without a flat earther coming at me.
Yeah, that would have to be an interesting argument from your side from what you see and how you fly. It'd be interesting to see your argument on that, because
I would just say, if the Earth is flat, where is the edge? Because, like, if you can look at a map all the time, there's planes constantly circumnavigating the globe. So if it was flat, there'd have to be an edge somewhere, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I just skip that question all the time. I don't respond. It's worth talking about it here, but like on social media, I never engage.
That's a hard one to engage, especially on social media.
What's the craziest thing you've seen in the sky? Ever anybody that's just off course in a little private jet that you're like, oh shit, where'd that dude come from?
There's some times, like I was going into Palm Beach one time, and just the way airspace is, it's kind of like an upside down cake at times. So like you can be on approach above an airport or coming in, and they're like, somebody might be crossing under you that control tower's not really talking to. Palm Beach, for example, they've restructured their airspace now, but there used to be a thing, and we had guys zipping right under the final, and it's like, that's a really bad place to be. It's not necessarily unsafe. We've got systems that protect us in that, but it's like, I had one there where I was like, this guy's in a bad spot. But I never see anything weird. I get asked about UFOs or aliens or stuff. I never see anything like that.
Then you got to fly the long haul. Yeah. That's when you get a little punch drunk and a little sleepy.
Way out there overseas.
Yeah. Last, and we'll get to the car stuff, but not to get, we don't get political and stuff, but the last month or so has been quite challenging for air travel, and be interested to know your take from a pilot standpoint. You're not having to deal near what the air traffic controllers are dealing with, but you're impacted by it.
Yeah, I would say, it's just from a user perspective, it's just an inconvenience, because the controllers they're only going to launch as many flights as they can safely handle. So the way they get around that is canceling flights, delaying flights, and so forth. So, from my perspective, safety-wise, no, I'm not concerned about it. I'd like to see those people getting paid to do their job and be there. So I'm glad that seems to hopefully be coming to an end, and we should be back on full force. I know, like Saturday, I was talking to a friend that lives in Auburn that was at SEMA show, and he was coming home Saturday, and he's like, man, I got to the Vegas airport at like 9 a.m. and walked through my door at 12:45 a.m., because Atlanta went into like a 5-hour departure delay Saturday. It's like one of the longest I've ever seen. So
yeah, we lucked out getting out of Vegas on Sunday.
30-minute delay out of Vegas? We were scared.
Yeah, I was debating getting on an earlier plane, and I decided I want to leave it, and the earlier one ended up getting canceled. So,
oh geez,
played a good game of roulette.
Good game
on that one.
Yeah, air traffic control. I remember being young when I lived in Dallas. My friend, his dad was air traffic control at DFW, and I just remember I didn't know anything then, but I remember I can think back now of like all the stress that they talk about. I'm like, yeah, that's why that guy was that way. Because that's a lot to deal with.
It's high stakes all the time.
That takes a different person to want to enjoy doing it.
Yeah. And so, all those controllers that weren't coming in, I didn't blame them. I don't want, we don't want them there. We got to assess our fitness for duty every flight, or if you're a controller, every shift. When you sit down, you'll be locked in, because, if you make a bad mistake, the scope of those mistakes is bad.
That's pretty big.
So, if they didn't feel like they could be there, if they had too much going on, they need to be doing whatever they need to be doing to, take care of their family. I don't want them there. I'd just soon take a delay.
So cars. How did you told me briefly, and I didn't want to get too much into it because I like to hear the story the first time. Where did all this come about? Like the interest and how, where you're at now?
I always grew up, as a car. I like cars, but I never had the opportunity or time to work on them. In high school, I had a car and I'd change my oil. And I remember me and my buddy were changing the spark plugs and we got the dang wires crossed up and the thing was running horrible. We screwed it up, but I was always a fan of cars, and my dad liked cars, but my dad was very poor growing up on welfare. And, he was, even though he had the money later in life to mess with them, he never did because he never really treated himself because he just could never get out of that. So, I didn't grow up around it very much, but I always had that interest there. And then I got to the point in my life where I'd, been pretty successful with work, and I got into my 40s, and my wife and I had moved into a new house, and I had the space and the time and the money. And I was like, what? I'd like to build a car. I'd like to do this. And I was like, my uncle Jim down in Tampa, he's a car guy in the family. He had built a Cobra kit car one time, and I was like, well, maybe that'd be kind of cool to do that. So I, got on Google. Literally, I Googled one morning, like, Cobra kit car, and like Factory 5 popped up, and started researching it and looking at the forum, and I'm like, I think I can do this. Like, I don't think I could handle like a Roadster Shop build straight away, because literally I hadn't done anything in 25 years. 25 years prior, I changed my oil in high school. So
Factory 5's a good place to start.
So I needed, and so it comes with an instruction manual, every part I need, and a builder's forum of incredible people. And that was kind of my first introduction to the car guy culture and how good the people all around this industry are. And I was like overwhelmed with how helpful the people were to build that car. And so it put me in a successful path there where I could get that Cobra built. And I built it, and I was like, man, this thing's incredible. I love it. And then I was like, well, I want to do something a little bit harder. So I got a 79 Porsche 911. 911 had always been my dream car. So I'd actually bought a brand new 2018 911 that I was driving, and while I was building the Cobra, and then I had both those cars. I'm like, man, these cars are both so fast. I'm gonna go to jail at the end of second gear is like go to jail speed. And my job is to operate vehicles pretty responsibly. So I'm not like a speed racer. I don't drive my cars like an a-hole on public roads. I'm like, get up from a stop to the speed limit plus 15 as fast as I can, and then just kind of cruise kind of guy. And so I'm like, I need a slow car, but I need a car I can build. So I get this 79 Porsche 911 that's got 180 horsepower, and I can drive that thing hard through 4 gears, and I'm going 70 miles an hour or whatever. And I did more like a traditional restoration on that, and kind of resto mod style, but I did a lot more that because I kind of had that foundation from the Factory 5 build where I could advance my skills a little bit. And basically each car I've done, I've tried to make it harder. So then I was like, got done with that, and I came across Roadster Shop, and I was like, this stuff looks amazing, man. And then I started emailing Irvin, and next thing I know, I got a 67 Camaro chassis coming my way, and that was my first car trying metal work, and I did many tubs, and it's just keep.
What year did you finish the Porsche?
Probably around 18 or so. 2018 probably around there, because I think I built the Cobra around 2015, 16, and pretty much rolled right into the Porsche after that.
How much research before you decided on the Camaro? What did that research look like on something harder, American Muscle? I mean, you're an analytical guy. You're going to do your research. So I want to hear about that process.
Yeah, I'm definitely a researcher, and it's a little hard to remember the specifics of it because, like I was talking with Irvin earlier today, it's like the Mustang build and now the Chevel build. Like I did all that research on the Camaro, and then I was like, Roadster Shop's where it's at. That's what I want to do. So like I haven't really done that research on the next two cars. I'm just like, Roadster Shop's it. That's what I'm getting. But, I did do a substantial amount of research and looking at different options and, just putting on, different front and rear suspension, all those different kits versus doing the full chassis. And ultimately I felt like, Roadster Shop is the best there is. I want to build the best. I want to try to build the best. And also it was like, when that thing showed up, I'm like, there's no way this body's going to fit on this chassis as easy as they say it will. And then I have, I do have a 2-post lift in there. So I had the body up in the air. I rolled the chassis under. Every alignment point was perfect. And I'm like, I can't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I had that thing on and off, 15 times over the course of the build. And it was just, it was next level for me in my builder progression, but it was also like the product was so good that I was capable of doing it.
Is this thing on?
Yes.
Thank God. The Camaros really do. That was like a sort of a pivotal moment for us in changing from that. That was the first chassis that we really designed with that mindset. Prior to that, we were so focused on just making it the lowest, coolest, baddest ass looking piece,
regardless of what it meant for you
and
to
it's
install
like,
it.
Hey, if you got to cut it, right? If it meant getting it out of the way to make it look cooler, we did it. But that put a lot of effort into that. That's great to hear because they truly are. Even here, because some guys are used to putting in the shop, professional builders are used to putting like a perimeter frame under something, and it takes a couple days of cutting and getting that thing situated, and then spec Camaro build comes through, and it's like boom, down on there, bolted on, it's off the lift in a couple hours, and then they're in their stall starting fabrication. So it's a good way to start.
The first one we did, we set up like 5 GoPros, and we are going to do a time-lapse video of the body going down on the chassis. And it went down, and then we moved the lift arms underneath the chassis, raised it up, bolted on. We're like,
worst footage ever.
Yeah, that's going to be
so boring.
Anticlimactic, for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was as good as it was better than I hoped it would be. And, and I still say that. I think I said that in another video. I was talking about the Chevel chassis coming, and I'm like, you don't know until you drive it. Because I'd never seen a Roadster Shop built car in person. I've never seen a chassis away from a car in person. I'm like, all I'm seeing is what I'm seeing on the internet and people talking about it. And I'm like, well, I'm just a little skeptical. I'm like, I don't know this is going to be as good as everybody says, but it was better. So
that's awesome.
I've been so satisfied with it.
Well, I mean, a lot of that, I had the privilege of driving your car, and we'll get into that a little later. But, I did mention to you that it's a well-built, very nice performing car, which is something that a lot of that comes from the guy building it. I mean, the chassis is the foundation. It lends a lot to it. But if you miss on everything else, then it doesn't matter. And that car's just, it's done right. I mean, the seats are in the right place. The shifter feels right. It's tuned good. The throttle response is there, and it's sort of a pleasure to drive. Yeah. Whereas I've driven some stuff that even on our chassis, I'm like, oh my God, like, because parts are coming off, and like things are touching things that move, and it's not real pleasurable. So yeah, I got to commend you on the work you did on that, man.
Nailed it on the ergonomics side. Like, from a driver experience, that's like one of the things you notice right away. Mm-hmm. Steering wheel's a little bit loose, your pedals are a little bit shaky, the shifter's not in the right location, the seat's too far back, too high, too low. I think that plays a huge role in how you feel in the car, and someone paying attention to all that. You definitely nailed it, and that was pretty damn impressive.
I mean, that means a ton to me coming from you guys. I mean, I'd sent you the email after you'd had my car just to say thank you, and I'm like, freaking Jeremy Gerber at the Roadster Shop. He's not going to know he's not going to respond to me. Like, and then I got an email back, and then he's like giving me a compliment. I'm like, man, it like buoyed my confidence so much, because again, I don't have much comparison. Like, I don't have any these cars to compare to. That 67 Camaro on a Roadster Shop chassis, mine's the only one I've ever driven, so I don't know if it's good or bad. So getting a compliment from you guys on that just means the world to me.
That's awesome. I mean, we don't need to name names, so we could say this, but there's been cars through here that are professionally built by big name shops, and maybe the car I'm speaking about wasn't on a Roadster Shop chassis, and I got behind the wheel of it, and I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I mean, it just a absolute disaster. Yeah. And you're talking like, a $500,000 vehicle, and I'm like, dude, it's sort of eye-opening, but again, you did a hell of a job on that thing, man. The coolest part about it was getting in it, and there wasn't like a laundry list of,
got to do this
these
special.
These are the quirks, and these are the things that I maybe did wrong, so I need you to do this to make sure that the car like works, and like jiggle this, don't hit this at the same time you hit this. When this happens, do this. It's a functional car that just works.
Well, I did send Phil last when he asked me about it. He was like, I was like, man, I've done a few things here that like, I'm not sure that you guys are going to think it's cool. Are you sure you want to deal with this? Because I think maybe a couple weeks before Phil had called and asked about doing it, I'd heard a podcast, and you were like talking about fixing other people's problems, and you guys didn't like that. And I'm like, oh man, they're going to like get lined up there and be like, this guy's a freaking moron. What did he do with this thing? So I'm very pleased to hear the positive feedback on it.
Yeah, well, one, I think it's the spec chassis obviously makes it an easier path to build a nicer car, right, than having to do a front and a rear, and you do a lot of weld in, and then leave a lot of adjustment up to the end user. But above and beyond that, you're an analytical guy, right? You've done your research. You also had a couple cars under your belt, right? And each, just like every pro builder and everybody else, each one of them you get better, right? You learn the things, but you also, it says a lot to the person that will stick with the build to get to the end result. And the end result needs to always be the best performing car that you can do with your time. I'm not talking about budget, with your time. Because your time can fix a lot of budgetary constraints. We've talked about that before. It can't. And we're not talking about stylistic and going and winning shows and doing all that kind of stuff. Sometimes that takes a budget, right? But you can
tightening bolts, fitting things,
stuff like that. There's so often, and it's understandable to get this way when you're fixated on the experience, because the experience is, for the most part, what gets you started and what keeps you driving through the thing. I've talked about before of like, I do it when I go to bed at night, right? That's what puts me to sleep. You think about the build or the thing, whether it's a project at home or a gun build or a car build or something like that. You start going through. It's the experience of like, once that's done, I get to do this, this, and this, and I want to go do this.
That's what keeps me up.
Right, it's the thing that put me to sleep.
That's
I go through.
I start building it, and then it just never stops.
But once I start going into like, I'm gonna put this nut in this way and this bolt in this way, and I'm gonna do that stuff. You get down into the detail, whatever, then it's just I'm drift off. But
I get that way when you start talking sometimes too.
I understand. A lot of people do. It's my soothing voice.
No, I get
Phil's
Phil's got the soothing voice.
He was told that.
But my point is, there's always, everybody's been there. There's those times where it's like, this thing could be driving this weekend, and then you come to a hurdle, and sometimes the hurdle, the drive is more important than coming over the hurdle, right? And you're just like, all right, that'll be fine. And then you start driving it, and that thing that you said, oh, that'll be fine, nags at you, but you didn't do it the right way, and you definitely don't want to go backwards sometimes. So, it's difficult sometimes to be like, nope, I'm gonna slow down. Yeah. I'm gonna do this the right way, or I'm gonna call a friend. I'm gonna ask what's going on. This is something I'm struggling with, versus just either accepting it or trying to sell yourself that this will be. You know what? It's my first Camaro build. This is good. This is good. But if you're not happy with it, the sticking through to make it right is what is shown up in his build, and it's what's important for other people to hear. Because how many cars we built collectively, and how many times is there always gonna be a thing of like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. We gotta do this. This is not right.
Yeah.
This needs to be right.
That's happened to you before? That
a couple times.
Well, that's as a home builder, as a guy doing it yourself, that's tricky.
Super tough.
The shakedown and the fine tuning of the car in the final assembly process is probably the most difficult part of it, because it's like the car's almost done. It's ready to be delivered. And then when something like, we used to have years back, products have gotten better, but used to have throw-out bearings go bad on, it was like 90% of the vehicles. Well, here you've got a team of guys, and it's two guys that are experienced. You dive in there, you yard the exhaust out, transmissions out of the car, boom, you got the part on the shelf, it's back in. That fine-tuning process as a home builder's got to be tough. Like, you don't have there's not a parts room in your garage of grabbing a few fasteners from here, and I'll grab this hose here, and that master cylinder didn't feel right, so I'll step up the bore because I've got one on the shelf right here. You kind of got to either nail it or stick with it to get it right. It takes some staying power for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I got to a point on the Camaro where I'd hooked up my hydraulic throw-out bearing, and I thought it was all good to go and had it in there, had the body down on the chassis and everything, and it was leaking from the hookup point, and I'm like, I can't get in there.
You thought about every possible wrench and crow's foot, maybe.
And ultimately, I ended up, because I was like, man, pulling this transmission back is tight in there, because I got a T56 in that one, and I had done a slight tunnel mod, but it wasn't a lot, and I was like, it's going to be a nightmare. So I was like, well, the body comes off this thing easy, so I just ended up lifting the whole thing up again. I mean, it was a lot of steps, but it was like, I can just take the whole body off and get to it easier than I can struggle to get to it. Because also, I was working in my basement, and I just have a 9-foot ceiling there, so my 2-post lift doesn't go up very high. So it was gonna be a problem to get the car up high enough to get the transmission out from underneath. So I'm like,
less risk than screwing
body
up
comes
something,
off
pulling
easy,
the motor.
and so it's definitely been a journey. And I find that I enjoy the build process as much as the driving. And I've also found as I have gotten more cars, I can walk away from a build that's going slow and go drive something else. So that's a nice, when I was building that Cobra, I was so anxious to get it done and get it on the road because I didn't have anything else fun to drive. So that helps me a little bit there, I think. Key. And I think my general philosophy is I take such pride in doing it myself and in doing everything myself I can. Maybe I can build 80% of the car that a pro shop can build, but the satisfaction of driving it myself, I'll take the 80% versus paying for 100%, which maybe the 100% isn't even 100% because you never know what you're going to get. Maybe I can build 50% of the car your guys downstairs can build, but I'll take my 50% and the satisfaction of doing it myself.
That's cool.
Making the shakedown, like you're talking about, the punch listing.
Yep.
Making that part of the process, like going into it, knowing that once initial crank, and a fluid check and a nut and bolt, that initial drive, that's just starting this next phase of the build, right? And the next phase of the build is just like if you're building a house, right? The builder's like, hey, we're wrapped. Let's do a tour this weekend. If you know that's like, well, I'm fixing to blue tape, the shit out of this thing, of all the punch list stuff that you're gonna have to come back and do. If you know that that's part of the process, then you've kind of set your own mental clock and part of it. And then also not being afraid to be overcritical of yourself through it. Of like, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I thought that was going to be really cool. Turns out that's a big major pain in the ass. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that now that I see it. And being able to be like, no, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Or be overcritical of the entire, build in the shop and stuff like that. And be like, guys, I know this sucks. Like, this, we got to fix this. We can come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And get into this. There's so many times, and there are people out there listening, there's so many times, because it does, especially in the beginning, it's such a win to get it to move.
Oh, yeah.
It's so hard to get it to move and stop and do the things that sometimes you're like, well, at least it's not overheating, or at least it's moving under its own power. Like, what if the rear view mirror just will not stay up? Let's figure it out.
I think we had that for a long time, trying to like get it through to all the guys that it's a different mindset. Like, you just built this insane car from scratch. Yeah, the window's going to vibrate a little bit, but like the customer, the first thing they get in, they close the door, the window's vibrating. That's all they notice. That's driving them crazy. They're not in awe that you spent 2 years building this thing from scratch to make it work.
But it's got tucked bumpers though. But the bumpers are tucked.
Yeah. But I think that's that last 1% that's an insane amount of work.
It's hard.
It's the first thing the customer notices, and I think a lot of shops got to understand that mentality, because that's what the guy driving it, he doesn't know what was involved in tucking that bumper, sees it, looks good. If that bumper is vibrating against the fender and making a lot of noise, that's driving him absolutely crazy. So you gotta finish the car all the way.
And then it's what blows your mind too when you're building for a customer. They walk past the 1,500 hours of paint and wet sanding and buff. Oh, it's shiny. Look at the tuck bumpers. They hop in. First thing, so many times, is the Bluetooth will not hook to my phone. How do I hook to? I want to hear this stereo, but the Bluetooth, and then it's I think you got to hit this, and then it's just the radio. Yeah. It's not your fault. But I don't know the settings. Like, maybe go to Bluetooth. Well, I've got it. It's hooked to my truck. Hold on. You're like, screw the Bluetooth connectivity. We can talk about that later, right?
Well, my question, as you guys are talking through this, for you're building it yourself. You're the home builder. For the guys in the shop, some of those things, like Phil said, they don't really understand, and they're not that important. It takes somebody like pushing them to get it perfect. You being the guy who built it and the car owner, are you just like, I'll deal with, like, I'll take care of the blue eventually?
Yeah.
Or are you like, do you methodically move through those things to get them perfect, or is it just like a sort of a living organism that, like, I'll sort that out. I'm going to go cruise this thing. I'll sort that out next weekend.
My Uncle Jim's got a lot of cars, and he's kind of like my car guy mentor, and I really enjoyed my relationship with him. He's got a lot of cool stuff. He's got a couple Roadster Shop chassis cars, and he does cool stuff. But he told me, he's like, Scott, he's like, you build these cars, there's always something you're going to be wanting to fix on them. Always just accept it, and like sitting home now, I got a little drip on the Camaro from the power steering I need to work on. The Mustang's got a little thing I need to work on, so there's always something to that, and it's like, I'm putting all this stuff out there on social media, and it's like funny you guys mentioned the tuck bumper thing, because that's like my number one pet peeve. I'll be building the car and somebody's like, well, aren't you going to tuck the bumpers? And I'm like, man, you guys watch these shows on TV where it's like so easy, and it's like, you have no clue what it would take. I'm like, the thought of me tucking a bumper in my basement is like ridiculous to me, but then people are like looking down on your build like, well, what quality of build is this if you're not tucking the bumper? And I'm like, man, I'm building a driver car that I can be proud of. Like, my bumper is like on my 65 Mustang is a repop bumper from wherever I got it from, Kentucky Mustang or something. I mean, the gaps aren't great on the end, but like, that's how it was in 65. And like, I'm happy with it. I'm a driver. I'm not building a show car. I don't sit around at a, show, everybody judging my car, but it's funny, the perception of people see it on the TV show, think it's easy, and like, I should be able to do all that.
Hey, you've been around this game. You know the internet well.
Yeah.
You would have tucked the bumper, and they said, that's not the way I would have done it. I can't believe you tucked the bumper. Yeah, I like the classic look.
It's a lot. I mean, all those are the little things. Not little, they're big things, but doing it at home, it's like that. There's so many steps to that.
Yeah.
Like to cut it, fit it, and then you've got to box it. Now you got to get it picked up. The UPS comes twice a day here. It's easy, and there's a crating department. Get it in a box, send it out. You've already got the contact at the chrome plater, which is that's hard enough to establish. To do all those things, then get it back, and then it never fits right because it moved, it warped, and then you got to straighten it out. Maybe you got to replate it. Those little things at home they're overwhelming. I would have to think so.
Well, I mean, in much respect to the guys at home that do that, that's just not me. That's not where I'm at. That's not my interest level. Like, I'm not building a perfect show car. I'm building a car that I can go out and rip in and have fun and just love it.
There's definitely a time and a place. Like the car behind you on that image right there, you see the bumper's front and center. You can actually see the bumper bolt on the side of it. That car, the bumpers were never fit. Like the paint body was pretty slick on it, but that wasn't the intention. We bought a reproduction bumper, put it right on there. Car's an absolute blast to drive. It's got tens of thousands of miles on it. Multiple customers have now owned it. We duplicated that car, and there's probably 2,000 hours in the rear bumper on the second one with machined everything. And it's really cool, but at the end of the day, maybe that was what that customer wanted. But the driving experience, it's sort of the same, either way.
Well, I mean, if I'm paying you guys to build me a car, I'm having a tucked bumper because it's freaking cool. But, as far as my capability to do it at home, it's not there.
Right.
So you got to know your limits and do what you can do.
That brings a point I've been kind of wanting to talk on. How big of a, leap was it? Or did you have a lot of apprehension going from a factory 5 car that was a kit car that had step-by-step instructions with all the parts to now jumping into a Camaro where you're buying one part from 500 different manufacturers. There's very little interchange. Nobody says this power steering pump works with this motor, works with this steering rack, fits with this, and there's no instructions at all.
And if you do find a forum, they got 15 different opinions on it.
Yeah. That's it. How big of a, risk was that for you? And did you just jump in and figure it out on the way, or?
Well, I mentioned it before you got up here, but I'm a big believer in the way you make yourself better is surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. So I, kind of have identified each build, somebody that I can really trust and go to and get good advice from, and that's helped me out. I mean, Irvin downstairs, it's funny. We got home from SEMA last week. My wife's like, "Who was your favorite person you met at SEMA?" And I was like, "Irvin," because I've had 500 emails with the dude over the last 6 years or whatever, and he's I ask him a question, he goes ask your people, and he gets back to me. So I'm able to get good information, and I do a lot of research, and I've certainly bought parts that didn't work out. But the biggest thing to me was the Camaro build was the first time I'd really done metal work with, which I just basically did a Detroit Speed mini tub kit. Now that car was painted when I got it, so I didn't have to paint that car or anything. It was a pretty nice driving condition car when I got it. Cool. I basically just did a mechanical restoration there, and I did the mini tubs, and I'm getting in there, and I'm like, gosh, I got to cut these frame rails back. And I'm not super, my welding is okay. It's not the greatest in the world. And I'm all of a sudden I'm taking the frame rail from, 2.5 inches thick or whatever it is to 3/4 inch thick, where you're man, this isn't good. But then I'm thinking to myself, well, I got this Roadster Shop chassis under here that's really carrying the load of the car. So now my frame rail that I'm modifying is only carrying the body weight. It's really not structural at this point any longer. So it gave me the confidence to try it. Whereas if I were shaving that thing down and then putting some, other company's suspension back there, I would not feel as good about it as I do with the basis that you guys, allow me to use there.
If with the knowledge base that you have after finishing the Camaro, not the skill level. Say your skill level was the exact same before you started the Cobra. Knowing what you know after finishing the Camaro, what would you have felt to starting the Camaro first?
I think I would have felt probably underwater, honestly. The biggest thing about the Cobra is I learned that I could figure stuff out and find a resolution to stuff. The Camaro, there was a lot more of stuff that needed to be figured out, where I think if I didn't have that basis of being able to figure stuff out and apply what I learned on a simpler build, it would have been a lot harder. It's not, but that's from my mechanical skill level where I was coming from. That's not to say, somebody else couldn't first build a Roadster Shop chassis, nail it. But, the way I want to go about it certainly helped me starting with a kit car.
Before we get into the next build, when did the Instagram, YouTube documentation of these builds start?
Once I finished the Cobra, I started I had like a personal Instagram where as I was building the Cobra, I just kind of stick a few pictures on there. And then I got done with it and I started a car Instagram. It was called Scott's Cobra at the time. And I just started doing that. And the main reason I liked doing it was because starting from scratch and nowhere, like the builder's forum on Factory 5 was amazing to me. The amount of people, how helpful there are. For example, the shifter in my Cobra is the flight stick from my dad's Air Force jet. My dad in 1969 had a malfunction with that flight stick. He had to land. They took it out of the airplane. They gave it to him. He set it on his desk. I was a little kid. I played with that flight stick. Awesome. He passed away before before I started the Cobra. My mom gave me the stick, and I had it sitting on my desk. And then I'm building the thing, and I'm like, man, I'd like to make this my shifter. Like, it'd be cool if it was my shifter. But, like, the way the Cobra output for the transmission shift lever is kind of aft of where you would normally be. So I'm like, I need to move this thing forward, but I don't know how to do it. So I get on the forum and I'm like, hey guys, I want to use this thing, but I don't know what to do. And so this guy messaged me. He goes, put the car in first gear and measure the angle, put it in second gear and measure the angle. Tell me how far forward you want to move this thing. So I give him that information. He CAD designs this thing, this mechanism, this coupler basically to put the, to hook up to the transmission to put the shift lever in. Sure. Then he builds it, welds it, powder coats it, mails it to me. Put it in the car. It's perfect. The thing shifts perfect. I'm like, this is freaking awesome, man.
That's cool.
And I'm like, what do I owe you? He's like, nothing, man. He goes, just pay it forward. So when I was building the Cobra, I did a build log on there and I wrote it from a beginner's perspective. Like, I'm going to show you all my stupid mistakes and then so I just kind of was able to expand on that on social media because it had more reach. So I just kind of started doing a lot of the Cobra stuff. And then I started building the Porsche. I'm like, well, I need to change the name here. So I came up with Scott's Rides, and each car is getting more, when I was building the Porsche, like video wasn't really much of a thing on Instagram. It was still basically just pictures. Yep. And then by the time the Camaro, I started doing it and then, really jumped into it hard with the Mustang build.
When did you realize that, this is a thing? It's not something that I'm doing to document my stuff. Now I've got like a responsibility.
Did it turn into a responsibility for you?
Well, I've kind of been joking lately that I used to be a car builder that made videos, and at some point I've almost transitioned to like a video maker that's building cars, and I'm not sure that I really love that. But, and it's like I'm not chasing social media to make money off it or anything like that. I like doing social media and presenting it, and I like just kind of having a positive space there and encouraging everybody to do the best with what they can. Like, all the time people are asking me, how much did this cost or how much does this cost? And I never talk about money on social media because I realize I'm like extremely blessed and I'm able to spend more on my car hobby than a lot of people are. And like, I find like throwing out, in a Roadster Shop build, it's not gonna be a cheap build. Obviously, we start with one of your chassis, it's be up there. But the way I figure it is like, if I spend 3 times what another guy spends on his build, and we show up with the cars and coffee next to each other, and he has the same level of personal satisfaction with his build that I have with mine, like, who gives a crap what it costs? Yep. So I don't ever want to throw a number out there because I feel like if I say, this build cost me, in the 6 figures, that's just going to discourage people from trying. Right. So along those lines in social media, I don't try to do that. I just want to have encourage everybody to do the best they can with what they have available.
It works really well, and I think you recently got a message from a friend of mine, Kevin Rudstead, and he was so excited. So, dude, as we know him, he's one of my best friends. I've been friends with him since we're young kids. He's been like jonesing to build. He's like a mechanical guy. He's a home inspector. Comes from the general contracting background, but he's been jonesing to build like a 32 Roadster. He's seen this that Roadster pickup truck we did years ago, and he's all about it. And I'm like always encouraging him. I'm like, dude. I mean, I'm always like there for peer pressure, right, to make bad financial decisions when it comes to cars. So I'm like, dude, do it. I'm like, I'll help you out. Like, I'll build you the chassis. I'll build you the frame rails. Like 30, I dig 32s. It's like sort of how I cut my teeth. But I'm sorry, once a week I get a message from you, a text, where he's forwarding me one of your videos or a link, and he relates to it so much because it makes it like more obtainable for a guy that's doing it at home. Like, here's a guy, I'm like trying to build. I'm like, dude, I'll help you out with all this. Like, anything you need, like, I'll handle it. Don't worry about it.
Your word doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but he sort of wants to do it on his own, and I think it really meant a lot to him. Like, he's watched a lot of our stuff. He's followed us for years. He's more starstruck knowing that you replied to him or like seeing your videos than he is seeing like, you know, we were talking about Kindigger, than seeing like a Dave Kindig video. Like to him, you're so relatable. And it was really cool of you to respond to him for sure.
It's really baffling to me. Well, I'm super anal about like reading. I read every message I get. My theory is like if somebody's going to take time to watch my stuff and they're reach out to me, I want to take the time to reach back to them. Now it does get hard with the quantity of messages sometimes, especially something really popular. I mean, I have hundreds of messages a day, but I don't mind doing it like as long as it's positive. You know, somebody's a jerk, they get blocked, you know, and it's like I probably have more people blocked on social media than most people have followers, but I'm only there for a positive spot. And like, you know, if you're a jerk to me, it's like blocked. And then sometimes, you know, I have the same username on Instagram and TikTok. So sometimes somebody will message on TikTok be like, hey man, you blocked me on Instagram. What the hell? What did I do?
Now you're
like,
blocked here.
Like, I don't even know what you did, man, but you did something, you know. And I'm sure there's been a few people along the way that I'm sure were just being, you know, trying to be funny, and I took it wrong and I blocked them when I shouldn't have. But you know, so I hate it for that. But it's like I just want to have a positive space there, and you know, but it baffles me like that people like at SEMA last week. I don't know how many people stopped me. A lot of people were like, "Oh man, I follow you, love the videos," and like I don't get it because I just live with a humble mindset. I think, and I'm just like I just like to share what I'm doing. I want to encourage others to do it, but I can't. You know, I find it funny when not funny, but it's like wild when people are, you know. I guess influenced by me, you know, because I'm just like I don't feel like that way.
It fills such a huge void in our industry because like nobody's doing it to that level. That's a third party. You know, most manufacturers put out their own videos, and then you look at like most other industries, like the motorcycle industry, the gun industry, any sports industry. There's all these massive amounts of channels doing reviews and in-depth builds. Our industry really doesn't have that. I think you're probably the only guy and doing a absolutely phenomenal job at it. So, yeah, while you're taking it very humbly, I think it's playing a pretty huge impact in a lot of guys out there that are looking for a place to turn and get information from. And you do a phenomenal job putting it out there and kind of showing step by step and giving them the positives and the negatives. So
I appreciate it.
100%. I hate to even bring this up because situations probably should change, but just so everybody's out there listening, we pay you nothing.
No.
He is not a Roadster Shop employee. This actually got brought up a couple of times at SEMA about you. I was talking to one of the higher-ups at Hemmings and talking about some different stuff, talking about the podcast and talking about some guests, and I mentioned you, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's a dude from Alabama that built all this stuff. He's like, man, you must pay him a lot. He's always talking to good rep.
Be careful. He's going to send us.
I said I didn't want to bring it up. It's just, but Irvin took care of you on merch, right? He got you handled on shirts and stuff. But it is, and I think it is important to bring up because, to your point exactly, there's so little to zero of that in this industry. And then when you do see some of that, it is a paid ad, right? And say, hey, I'm going to go to the booth and I'm going to talk about this stuff or whatever, and you know it's an influencer stuff. To just, I mean, you speak for a good 60 to 70% of our core customer base of what these guys are doing on the spec chassis side of things, right? So many people that it's their first time build, they're building it with their son, they're building it with their brother, they're doing that. They've gotten to the same situation. Like, you're like, you know what? You know, I'm 40, 45 years old. Things are kind of leveled out. Now I have the time and I have the money and I got the desire. And it's so important to document it at the level that you do. And it's important for everybody to know that if it didn't work out and that chassis didn't bolt up, you'd let everybody know that it didn't. It was because you are biased or unbiased. And I think it's an important thing, and I think that's where you talk about, you know, you're humbled to it. I'm like, we are humbled the fact that like it's done that well, completely, you know, multiple times from a guy that is exactly our core audience and our target customer of buy it, it shows up, you're doing it in the home garage. You're talking about the Camaros before, you know, you took for granted sometimes, not even the level of fabrication, just the sheer size of the shop that they're working in. Take for granted sometimes just receiving the chassis. Like,
oh yeah, that's like the biggest stressor for me is getting that thing off the truck, man. When it shows up, like when the Mustang came, I had been talking with this lady at the because I get a flatbed to come back up to the truck.
It's the best way to do it.
And so I'm talking to this lady for like 2 weeks. I'm like, my chassis, and it's also stressful for me because my schedule's unknown. And like when they ship that thing out, it's like, I don't know that I'm not going to be on a trip that day. I got to be around. And so that, I'm talking to this lady at the tow truck company like 2 weeks. I'm like, here, this one I want to do. I had pictures from the first time, and I was like, this is what we did last time. She's like, oh, great. We'd love to help you with that. We'll be ready. Just call us when it gets here, So they're like, chassis coming tomorrow. And I'm like, call her up. I'm like, hey, chassis coming tomorrow. She's like, all right, we're ready, And then, so the guy ends up coming at like 6 p.m. Well, I call, and she's not at work, and the dispatcher's like, we're busy, man, we can't get to you. And I'm like, dude, I can't have this truck sitting in my street for very long. I don't want the driver waiting, So it's like really stressful for me for that. But these builds, like I get the scared in the pit of my stomach feeling all the time on them, because I'm like, man, I've stepped further than I'm comfortable with on this here. It's like, and a lot of that stuff doesn't make the videos, but I definitely have that fear going at times, like with the Chevel build here, having to do the tunnel sheet metal, and they send me the pieces, and I'm like looking at these curved edges and straight edges of metal, and I'm like, I don't know how to cut this and make it, and it worked out. I found a way, but it's like, it's a learning all the time, and I scare myself all the time, but I kind of like that. I like that part of like challenging myself, because it's like, I've been very fortunate in my professional career to be a high achiever, and it's like I'm at the point there where it's like there's nothing left for me to do as an airline. But every day my goal is the same: to have a safe flight, to treat my crew good, and the passengers have the most positive experience.
You ever barrel rolled one?
No, I haven't done one of those.
You say you haven't done it all.
I'm just saying, like, I have no more goals to achieve at my airline job other than the same ones every time. So it's like social media kind of gives me a new way to achieve goals. So I kind of like that. And like, speaking out for Roadster Shop, like if I find a great product that I like talking about, I'm going to talk about it and bring it up, and I spend a lot of money with you guys. And, I will say on the third chassis, Irvin gave me a nice discount on that, but it's like, I don't ask anybody to pay me for stuff. If I want to, if somebody believes in me and they want to give me something, I want to impress them, and I want to exceed their expectations on how I can present their project. So I like being able to do that. And, it's easy to talk about awesome products.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in that position. I end up being the guy that's thrown into doing all these YouTube videos and stuff. So you're talking about a lot of people. I was just talking to Casey Wagner last night, and Casey's saying, man, I just thank you so much for like always mentioning us. And it's not that like there's no sponsorship there. I mean, I think Casey's hooked me up with a few, like he gave me a couple gallons of race fuel recently when we were tuning my sand car. But like, I'm like, dude, the product's badass. So like, why would I not? It's a great product, and it's so easy to talk about it. And that's the stuff I like surrounding myself. That's how we've built the Roadsters. We're not engine builders, we're not transmission builders. Like, we don't build wheels. There's a group of people that happily will sing their praise, but I'll say otherwise too if it sucks.
Like who?
Like I really like the episode when you had Mark Bowler on here, and so a lot of times after the episodes, I'll look them up on Instagram and just send them a message, be like, "Hey, I really enjoyed the podcast. That was good stuff." And I really like Mark's story about like his dad. It felt like his dad didn't really believe in him, and he like still made it happen, and he's made this. And I'm like, I want that dude's transmission in my car, So we ended up emailing back and forth, and I said, this is what I do on social media. I'd love to do this, and I don't ask for a discount. And he's like, well, I'm a small business. I can't be giving you a free transmission. That's another thing. I think a lot of people think I'm like getting all this stuff for free. I'm not getting much stuff for free. I'm getting discounts here and there. And, but I was like, I find a product I want to use, and I reach out to that company. If they give me a discount, great. If they don't, I'm buying it at full price anyways, because that's what I want to use. And it's like, I hear, him coming in here and you guys using his stuff, and I'm like, I want to use that stuff too. I want to have the best stuff there is. So, I got that T56 from him for the Chevel, and I'm super excited to get it in there.
Mark's a great dude. Absolute great dude.
Yeah, you could buy, like, there's plenty of places you could buy like a budget T56, but I spend more money getting a prepped T56 from him, like a carbon T56, because I know it works, and it's saving me money because I'm not yarding it back out of the car.
Yep. And it's the relationship, just like you talked about, the relationship you built with Irvin. You can call Irvin, email Irvin. You know he's gonna get back to you. He knows you. Y'all built a relationship. He understands the project. You've gotten through that, first date stage. Same thing with Mark. Like, it's the relationship. It's, hey, I got to have something quick. I screwed up. I need help. Please.
Yeah. The only issue you have with Mark is the fact that he's in like a land where they don't really have like technology like cell phone reception, and I think it takes longer for emails to get there. So sometimes correspondence takes a little bit of time, but it's always good.
He is in the world that time forgot.
Yeah.
Like it is.
But Lawrenceville, is that?
What's he in Kansas or something?
No, he's in Illinois, but it's basically
Lawrenceville, Illinois,
Tennessee, right? Like it's way. I've never really paid attention to how long Illinois is. That it goes so far as though it borders like fucking Kentucky and basically Tennessee. You're like,
dude, you get on 57 and run south. There's nothing because he's
forever. Like, oh yeah, Nashville. Like we're down here in about 45 minutes. Like, but you're from Illinois.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so like way down there.
That's farm.
Yeah.
You mentioned before we get to other builds. You mentioned SEMA, so you just got back, and that was your first SEMA show. Very interested. One, for everything that we've talked about, a couple builds under your belt, using these brands, but you're doing it at home. You're not doing it for a living, and this is your first SEMA show. What was the expectations going in, and were those expectations met?
I honestly didn't know what to expect to go out there because you just hear how massive it is and how everything is. And then we showed up and I'm like, this is more massive than I thought. And people were like, you can't understand it till you go there. And then like I've been home, this last week watching social media, all these videos. I'm like, I didn't even see this. There's like all this awesome stuff. I'm like, I didn't even sniff that thing. So, I thought I covered a lot of ground, but I loved it. I can't wait to go back again, hopefully. So
what was the most positive surprise? And then what was the most negative surprise?
I don't even know that anything negative stands out to me. Something that I really enjoyed is Thomas Dickerson, who won your On the Gas.
Yeah.
I've just become friends with him a couple years ago on Instagram, and then we've become more friends. He's helping a buddy in town that's doing a split window Corvette, and he's actually sourced my LT4 for the thing. And he's just such a good young dude. He's such a hard worker. Like he had got the engine back at his shop in like June, and I was like, hey man, he lives about 4 hours from me, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna be in the area. I want to come by and see the engine. That cool? I'm like, what time are you gonna be at the shop? He's like, oh, like 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. and then on Saturday, and then Sunday after church from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. And he's been working his butt off, man. And to see, like, we spent a lot of time, like, every time they were announcing, the top 10 and the top 3, and then I had to leave before he actually won the Young Guns. But, like, just seeing the satisfaction, and, like, we come to know his parents, and, seeing the pride they felt for him. And because, like, his parents have got a lot of their, investment in his shop and getting it going. And it was so freaking cool to see him excel in that scenario. I loved it.
Well, he earned every bit of it. I know you've reached out a couple of times, with a direct message, and hey, you need to look at Thomas Dickerson. We had a bunch of other people, reach out and be like, hey, you need to have this guy on the podcast, or you need to mention him for On the Gas. And 100%, no offense to everybody, you and everybody else that's reached out. All that's fine and dandy. We got a lot of people that say, hey, you should look at this guy. Hey, you should look at this person. This shop, blah, blah. I had never seen it in person. I've seen it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right? But we've been surprised based off what we think on Instagram. We've been underwhelmed based on what we think. So you sent me this stuff. I'm like, that's great. I saw that it's going to be debuted. We were never going to do anything prior to seeing anything that anybody's created in person.
Yeah.
And busy week, right? We had lots of stuff going on. There was, he got moved around, right? Tuesday night, we were actually going to go look at it. It was dark, and then he got moved. Finally, grabbed Jeremy. I was like, hey, too many people. Like, I'm seeing it. We got to go look at this truck, right? I expect good things, but the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And wow, the kid knocked it out of the park. He absolutely knocked it out of the park.
It's really, and he had said something. He's like, "Man, I'd love to get that Oil and Whiskey Award." And
really,
I was
like, did he say that?
Well, like I had
because when we gave it out, we couldn't find his ass.
This was like
sitting up there as crickets.
Like, this was like Tuesday. He's like, "Man, I hope they consider me." And I'm like, your truck's kind of on the wrong chassis, man. I don't think you got a shot. So like the fact that you guys selected him, not on Roadster Shop equipment really speaks, for what you guys are looking for. And I thought that was pretty awesome.
We got a soft spot for those young dudes, and that thing was so well done. Josh was the one. I'll give it to Josh. He was the advocate for it. He really pushed to That was a rough night. I think we had
to make a special trip over there to look at it.
We were hurting a little bit. We made a special trip all the way to the back of whatever hall, North Hall. Where was that at? To go check it out. And truck speaks for itself. I mean, it is it's as good as it gets, right? It's a very high end truck. He checked all the boxes on it, like the fit, the finish is there, the style's there, the details there, the interior's there, like all the engine bay finishes.
There's one box he didn't check, but
one, okay, right? We won't hold it against him. But he, a great kid too. I remember he's popped up a handful of times over the past few years at shows where he's just kind of wandered into the booth and grabbed me and just sort of picked my brain. It wasn't lost on me. He was really interested in progressing himself and sort of whatever knowledge I could give him, limited knowledge it may be. He seemed interested in just extracting anything he can get.
We're gonna.
I love seeing the drive from a 26-year-old. Like, it's awesome to me. Like that was my best part of SEMA, was seeing it, experiencing it with him.
Yeah,
I like that. I like the quality. I mean, he probably doesn't even. I know he doesn't know because we're announcing now. We're gonna have him on the podcast. So that's part of the.
It's part of the award.
It's part of the OW award. We didn't get to talk about it at the show, at the party, right? But surprise.
Yeah,
he's coming on the podcast. We're gonna have him up. Speaking about the young guns, Thomas included. We've talked for a while. We talked about it on this podcast. We've also talked. This podcast, just remember, most people know this, but so you know, all this is an extension of our parking lot parties and parking lot conversations that we've had for the last 20 years. So it's just the same thing, sitting down and recording it. We've talked for so long as we transition from the young guys. Then you go into that middle kind of thing, and there for a while, there was a lack of new blood coming in, and then some of the ones that were had the wrong attitudes. It's just the way it was, right? So they didn't have the patience. They wanted everything right now, right? This is my very first build, and it really isn't that good, but why am I not where the top is right now, right? More like very much impatient, and then
which guys were this?
Yeah, well, some have changed, some haven't. There was such a bad problem with the egos amongst builders, especially with that newer blood coming up, right? And it was, you old guys don't know what you're talking about, and this guy's taking food off my table, and if you build a car, I can't be friends with you, right? We've preached it for years. There's enough out there for everybody, right? Everybody's got a different style. Everybody's got to get a different skill set. The most important thing is for a builder and a customer to mesh up, right? If you mesh up personality and you mesh up style-wise, then everything will be great. This newest group of young guns, not only are they absolutely wildly talented, the drive is I would say unbelievable, but it's not unbelievable. The drive is what the drive used. It's refreshing because it's what we used to do, right?
Yep.
And that's it's so refreshing to see it's just going to take. I've not once heard any of these young guns that we're fixing to run through some of their names or whatever ever talk about the proper work-life balance. I'm not saying it's the right way, but if it's the way to get the quality and to make it in this industry, there's going to be a lot of sacrifice.
I get a lot of questions about work-life balance, as an aviation career, and I always think to myself, like, work-life balance is like a phrase for 20-year-olds. Like, that didn't exist when I was 22-year-old airline pilot. Like, I didn't think like that. So it's just a little, a little different. I kind of laugh at it, but I'm like, maybe I'm just a crusty old guy that's like, work-life balance.
Dude, I feel like that's when you interview the guy at the race who came in 22nd place. And you're like, well, tell us about, like, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
The work-life balance is really good.
I didn't practice real much.
Because Michael Jordan's not talking about work-life balance after, wins
he just did an interview
championship
about that.
game, right?
Yeah, he pretty much shredded that theory.
I heard. I've got to watch that interview.
Phenomenal.
Well, the what you should say, I'm going off a tangent, but the work-life balance, it shouldn't balance out. What it should be is you work so much and so hard to have a good life, and the amount of life that you want to enjoy is generally commensurate with how much work you're going to put in. If you don't want to work a second over 40 hours, then that's fine, don't. But then on that, the rest of those hours, and then on Saturday and Sunday, don't complain about the things that you can't do because you ain't got the cash to do it.
Yeah.
Like there's always.
Yeah.
I mean, another young guy out there I was impressed with was Josh Sanders, which I know he's been in here too, in his Charger he built. And I had met Josh on through Instagram a while back before you guys had him on the podcast, and he had helped me because I had like the ugly Gen 4 Coyote cover for my Mustang. Sorry, the Gen 3 was super ugly, and I was like, I'd like to use this Gen 4, but I don't know how. And he came up with some billet adapters, and he's ended up selling a bunch of those. But I've enjoyed knowing him, and so it was really cool to meet him out there too, and
great.
He's got 2 little ones,
great couple.
but he's got his wife out there pulling the cover off the car and stuff, and it was like
Shit,
it was cool.
She was out there.
Yeah, she was there. We talked.
That's crazy.
I told her she was the favorite spouse of all time on the Oil and Whiskey podcast.
So I got to introduce her to my wife out there, and then I told her.
Funny story about that.
What's that?
You didn't introduce her to your wife.
Oh, they met like the night before.
Yeah,
but I almost so that was the second time I even told him, like, man, this is about the second time I was screwed up. They're all sitting there talking, and my wife was there, and I walk up and I was like this close to like put my hand on her back. I thought it was my wife. Like they were wearing a sequin dress, and just quickly I had
that would have been so bad.
Would have been the worst way to follow up my last comment.
It's so bad,
dude. I'm just batting 1,000.
But yeah, I mean, Josh Sanders and his wife Sierra. They're doing it so awesome. They got new products coming out. Those door handles are fucking killer. The brake line clamps that you talked about on the podcast.
Yeah.
She is his absolute
biggest fan
and supportive in all ways. Like you said, they got 2 young kids. My wife and Jeremy's wife met Sierra the day of the party, right? So they're all getting their hair done at the same place, and just happened to be at the same place. I think Sierra overheard like them talking about going to a party and whatever, and she's like, "This can't be." And then they talked, and our wives gave her some life advice about this industry, and she's not phased, not a problem, whatever. Josh has got it. He's just so talented. All that. He's doing everything the right way. He's so nice. He's so humble and super talented.
Very talented.
The Adams Customs brothers, those dudes, I don't know where they're coming. They've
insane speed on getting stuff done.
They got to have like another 20 employees that they're not telling anybody about. The quality of those trucks, and they bring 3 of them to SEMA, absolutely amazing, right?
Well, they're kind of, what I like about that is they're breaking that mold. Like Josh was talking about, there were a lot of young guys that entered the industry, but the young guys, they were using like social media as a tool for just showing like workmanship, never really getting anything done. These kids
backing them up. Backing them up.
Here's a finished truck. Here's a finished truck. Here's a finished truck.
All 3 of the trucks that they brought were in the top 40 of Battle of Builders.
Yeah.
We haven't done that.
So we're all. I know, right? We're all sitting here saying what nice. They're probably sitting back. They're like, "You believe those fucking morons?" They're sitting there thinking, like, we're kicking their ass. Yeah, we're kicking those old dudes' asses.
100%.
Yeah,
but it is so. We've harped on it so much, but it is so refreshing to see, because we have seen the wasteland. We've seen the desert of the lack of interest from the youth, and then the ones that were interested that were doing it for the wrong reasons and think that you could just, DA some sheet metal and they all of a sudden should win an award, even though the car didn't get finished and they missed this deadline and it didn't run. You got to back it up. Not only are this group of guys backing it up, and I know we're missing people, but those were the
K32.
K32. He's bringing a truck for next year that's going to be a banger.
But I'll tell you what's funny, when you're up on stage, we did this party and you're up on stage, it's very difficult to like think clearly and touch on everybody you want to touch on, right? So I was talking about the young guys, and I missed K32. I saw him afterwards, and I was like, dude, I apologize for that, And he's like, no, I don't need to apologize. He's like, I should have done something that made you remember me.
Yeah.
Like, did he say that?
Yeah.
Logan Adkins.
Right.
Logan.
I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's why I like you.
He's doing it 100% the right way, and he's like taking his time, doing his thing.
Yeah.
He's building this new truck. I think he just posted some stuff. There's the rendering of it, just so we're giving everybody. He was posted under the hood. Oh yeah, there's some under the hood sheet metal stuff. Fab. That's C10.
But all these guys, I felt like I was like a broken record in repeating that at the SEMA show, but I'm so stoked about that's happening. That's the direction.
How old does it make you feel?
Very old.
Not that. I mean, yeah, a little bit, but not that old.
Well, this is what talking about SEMA and talking about the party. Unfortunately, you were not able to enjoy the party. You had to go home. I understand. You made the wiser decision. It was, let me tell you about a long night in late morning.
I've got about a 72-hour limit on Vegas, and that was like pushing it. You guys should
try.
We do
it.
We for the whole time. Oh my
days.
gosh!
Yeah, 11
days.
11 days.
I mean, when we went back to the airport to get out of there, like I can generally bring water bottles through and stuff, and like I got random, so they took my water bottles away, and I was like so mad I had to pay $16 for 2 water bottles for the plane flight. I'm like, get me out of Vegas! I can't take it anymore. Like that was 2 days
water
in.
at Vegas airport.
Yeah.
So this was, and Phil triggered the moment for me. Okay. But we're doing the party. Party was amazing. Best party we've ever had. Right? Loved it. I made it a point that I was going to enjoy it, and that didn't happen. Still didn't get to do the thing. Always, there's too many things going on. We're changing that for next year. I got to have somebody. Got to have some help. We're standing there. The party's been amazing, right? Standing in the back, standing next to Phil. And I tell him, I was like, look at that line. Everybody was up on the little dance floor in between the booths.
Yep.
And we're going down the line. I'm like, where has that ever happened in the history of hot rodding, right? And we go down the line. You've got Angie Johnson, Alan Johnson, Bobby Alloway, Bobby's wife, Cindy, Troy. You just go down the line.
Rings.
Yeah. Like the rings, they're all in a line. I mean, some of them could dance. Most of them couldn't. Dancing horribly, right? Just
doesn't matter. Everybody's having fun.
Absolutely living it up.
Yep.
Having a great time. So, and then Phil tells me, he's like, hey, this is the time we probably, this is the time you stop and smell the roses. Because we always talk about somebody wish somebody would have said that these are the good old days. And so you had to look back at the good old days, right? So we're trying to do a better job of like, even if it's just a minute, pause for a minute, take it in, then go back to looking at the next thing. So you pause them for a minute and you're like, these are all the people that we used to like.
These are our icons.
If you could just get a moment, right? Yeah. If you could just get a mention, if you could just get, even if he remembered you the next show of who you were, like you were making something, they're dancing part. And now looking at all of the young guys, right? Just right to the right, that we've just given all this recognition to, rightfully so, right, about how they're building badass shit. And it was just this weird, like, dichotomy and being in the middle of, like, you could just pause for a second and be like, wow, what a time. It like all flashes, like the 20-something, 22 years or more of being in the industry, like flashes through. And you go back to like the very first indie and the very first good guys and stuff like that. And then you're like, well, these guys are killing it. Like the young guys are killing it. And it was really, really probably one of the very coolest moments I can remember in a long time.
I mean, maybe we're doing it all wrong because it took me like 15 years to get Bobby Alloway to shake my hand. Same with Al Johnson. And here's these kids showing up like a couple of years. And I'm
maybe
like,
you didn't do anything.
Oh, you guys are doing awesome. Man.
Maybe you didn't do anything to make him remember you.
It's possible. Just a couple times I know I did.
Well, yeah. He remembers that engine color. Don't he?
Bobby will never forget it.
But then now he's painting an engine that color.
Yeah, he remembers.
But it was really cool for us to be able to have that broad a spectrum of customers, and some not customers, some enthusiasts, and just that much. I was talking to Roger from Ironworks today via email and some stuff, and we truly, from the bottom of our heart, we like to have a good time. We absolutely want to build a brand. We absolutely want to sell more chassis. All that being said, we truly believe in the health of the industry and it continuing to propel. Now, half of that is completely selfish because the industry is not working. We're not in business. But at the same time, it is the industry that has made us a living and what we've done our entire lives. And you do want to see it thrive. And nonetheless, we know that we're not that good at people. We're bad people. We tell bad jokes. We make fun of people that we shouldn't make fun of. We do bad things. So anytime that you just get a little bit of good, that you feel like you're giving back a little bit, it at least helps me sleep a little bit better at night.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Does it?
Yeah.
Did I say anything that you disagree with?
No.
Okay. You just didn't like saying it. You just didn't like hearing it.
Yeah, right. It hurts a little.
Being at SEMA, seeing all of these vehicles, can you take it in and process it? Like, compartmentalize things? Like, I'm going to come back and see this, or I'm going to search this, or is it complete sensory overload the first time?
I feel like it was overload because, you know, the first day I was just running around trying to meet people that I wanted to meet. And I'm like, got back to the hotel. I'm like, gosh, I didn't really look at that much stuff. So then day 2, I'm like, I'm really gonna make an effort to look at more stuff. But then it's like, I mean, I go by that Ring Brothers Aston Martin. I'm like, just staring at it. I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I've watched like a 40-minute YouTube on that car before. When I'm seeing it in person, I'm just overwhelmed by it. And,
yeah.
You know, so it was cool. I hope, hopefully next year I'll have a better game plan to take it all in.
Were there any cars there, cars, parts, certain things that inspired you for your Chevel build that you're doing now, that you're, hey, that's a badass steering wheel, those mirrors are really cool, like the way he made this spoiler or used that part?
I don't know that anything, I was really much looking even for like Chevel type stuff, honestly, because like I'm so far from being to like the finishing point of that. I'm like, I'll be at like next year looking for that stuff because I'm just going so slow on this build and it's just so much work for me. And like people are like, well, what color are you going to paint it? And I'm like, I literally haven't even considered a color because I'm so far away from it. Like, so, you know, a lot of the parts that I'm going to need in the nearer term, I've already got acquired, you know, in the main components like the transmission and the engine and, you know, stuff like the big parts that I'm going to need. So like the finer touches, I really wasn't even in the mindset. I don't think I was looking for that stuff too much.
So that was a whirlwind of being there. I would ask how your wife handled that, but obviously y'all are kind of used to doing the Disney thing, right? She plans, so she's down, just like, we're going to hit it. We're going to just work it.
She's such a supportive wife. Like, I mean, like that's my biggest flex in life is our relationship and how she is by me and how she supports me. And so it was kind of funny. She does Disney travel is like her job. She's a retired school teacher, but she sells Disney travel now. So we go to Disney like 3 or 4 times a year. And originally our deal was I can build as many cars as I want and you get as many Disney trips as you want. Well, now she's done so well with the Disney business and build up her client base that she's self-funding like all of our Disney trips a year. So now I'm just building cars. And, you know,
that just increases the budget.
And about once a week or once every 2 weeks, I get on Instagram and I'm like, hey, my wife's a Disney planner. It's free, you know, because Disney pays. Like if you book your own Disney trip, they charge you a travel agent fee and just pocket it. If you use one of their affiliated travel planners, they pay her instead. So is for the user is absolutely free and she does all the work for you. So I get on there on social media and I kind of pimp her out and I'm like, hey, you know, she does everything. It's free. And I take all her commissions for car parts. So I kind of, help me, you know, and so her business is really doing well with that. So it's actually kind of funny. So she was doing a car wife life, a day in the life, car wife life. Every day we were there. She made her own little video for her Instagram and had a good time with that. And one day she got really creative. She's like, I'm going to pretend like I'm at Disney today. So like we were staying at Caesars and we're looking out at the Paris. She's like, oh, there's the Paris Tower that's at Epcot. And she's like, okay, we're going on the monorail to the park because we rode the monorail over to SEMA. And then we're coming down the stairs and she's like, this doesn't look like Disney. And then she like got one of the food vendors. She's like, where do I get a Mickey pretzel? And the guy like just looked at her funny.
That's funny.
So she had a good time with it. So she really liked it. She's an awesome car wife. And
that's great.
We joke that the Chevel build is her car because my Uncle Jim has a 66 Chevel. It's black. It's badass. And, it's called the Bad Actor. And no matter what car I've ever built, she loves Uncle Jim's Chevel the most. So that's basically how I decided like this, we're going to get a Chevel. I'm going to build it for Kim. Now, she doesn't drive manual transmission. She has no interest in driving any of these cars that I spend the time building, but she loves riding with me. So the Chevel is technically her car. So she's just super supportive of, what I like to do and the car stuff. So she was great to bring along to SEMA.
Well, back to car stuff. We finished up with the Camaro, right? So then you finish the Camaro, you're driving it, you're having fun. How quickly are you thinking about the next project? Are you thinking about it while you're finishing the Camaro?
Pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, like I
you really do love the build process.
I do love the build process.
Most people do.
And so I think I probably had the Camaro done a couple months and I'm like seriously looking for the Mustang and I'm like, okay, this next one I want to make it harder. I want to paint it myself, so that was where I was going with that. And I found that 65 Mustang that the guy had done a lot of the metal work, so it was in pretty good condition, like a good first paint project for me. So I jumped into that, and then it was like, here goes my call to Urban to see what we can do here on another chassis. And
did the Mustang go as smooth as the Camaro on the chassis install?
Well, that Mustang chassis is a lot harder installed simply because it wraps around those front frame rails. So, like I said, on the Camaro, I probably had the Camaro body on and off the chassis 10, 15 times. Like, the Mustang went together once. And then, plus, I had a Coyote in there, so it's like there's no dropping the body down over it. It's like, yeah, get it. And so I sectioned out the firewall so I could kind of bring it in at a lower approach angle. And I mean, not the firewall, the core support there.
Coyotes make everything.
So it, hard. And then it took me 3 different oil pans before I got the right one to fit in there. And, I had a lot of problems, but the great thing about that was I learned enough on like planning where everything needed to go on the Camaro that I was able to like plan it all out on the Mustang and only put it together once. I didn't need to take it back apart. Like on the Camaro, I drop it down and be like, okay, now I got to do the exhaust. Let me pull it back up and see where I got room for stuff. Like I had it all figured out ahead of time. So the learning curve on the Camaro certainly helped me on the Mustang.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the way we've gotten over the years. There's certain cars, like we always treat it as there's sort of, you mock everything up. Chassis comes in and bare metal, loosely assemble it, you build the whole car. And then there's some cars, like we know if it's a Survivor Camaro, Survivor Mustang, Survivor Tri-5, that chassis is straight to powder coat because you just know the components, you know what's involved, and it's more of an assembly project than it is a fabrication project. But you live and learn.
The paint process. I followed along throughout that paint process. That's a completely different learning curve and a completely different ball of wax that you're getting into versus doing your first fab project. Learning, weld and penetration and settings and stuff like that. Painting is not.
No, it was a struggle.
Well, that's not an easy thing to do.
It was not an easy thing
to do. You can't just fix it.
Even the painters, the experienced painters, are still figuring it out.
And I'm out there, in September in Alabama in a blow-up booth in my driveway.
Perfect time to be doing
I'm
this.
like getting up at 2:30 a.m. to start setting that booth up so I can be spraying, with a light on my head and a light on the gun at 4:15 so I can get this thing, drying and stuff before.
Chance.
Well, coming from experience, it's no different than a pro painter in Alabama. There's nothing changes.
Yeah, that's at the state.
It's the temperature. Yeah. Yeah, unless you've got an air conditioned shop in Alabama, that's the time you're painting.
We were just talking to Vinny about that.
Same thing.
He was 2:30 in the morning.
Yep,
he's in there painting.
But I will say, there's always a lot of negatives that people talk about social media, and I get some real positives out of it. One of them was with the paint shop. I'm struggling along with this car, and I've never cut and buffed anything. I'm watching these videos on YouTube. I'm like, I don't. You don't know what you don't know, and I'm trying to do it, and I'm like, I don't want to screw this up. And so I just kind of got on Instagram one day. I'm like, I'm struggling here and cutting buff what to do. Like, can somebody give me some tips? So there's this guy, Dom, down in Macon, Georgia, Dom's Customs. Dom and I would have never crossed paths in life. We probably couldn't come from 2 more different backgrounds. Dom sees what I'm doing, and I'm struggling, and he messaged me. He goes, hey, he's a professional shop. He mainly does bikes, but he's like, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to cut and buff this tank, and I'm going to make a video. He makes me this 20-minute YouTube video on every step of the way, and it's so helpful. I'm like, man, that was amazingly helpful. Thank you. So then I'm working on my hood, and I reach out to him. I'm like, man, I'm kind of struggling on this hood. Like, this is what's happening. I'm sending him a video, and he goes, I'm going to come over there and help you. So, he gets in his car. He drives over 3 hours from Macon, Georgia to Auburn, Alabama to me.
Damn.
He spends 6 hours working on my hood, going through everything, step by step, showing me how to do it. I mean, cool. The hands-on, step by step, and he, me and my wife have lunch with him. We talk, and we just talk all day. And I'm like, this is an amazing guy, amazing the way he's helping me. He don't know me. He don't want anything. He don't want me to pay him. I'm like, hey, let me pay you. You spend your whole day coming over. He's like, no, man, no way, just go. And so he goes home, and then as it turns out, I don't think my application on the clear was good enough. And I'm looking at the car, and I'm like, if this was a $30,000 build, this would be a good first paint job. But for the caliber of build I'm trying to do, this isn't good enough. So ultimately I sent the car to Dom, and he re-scuffed the whole thing down and redid it. It looks beautiful. But it's I've made this friend for life now, this guy that I never would have come out with, so it's I've had those positive experiences, that kind of gives you faith in humanity and stuff like that. And he's just such a good guy. And it's now in the Chevel, I know I'm going to get him to help me be like, you know, I'm gonna kind of get him to come be like my spray supervisor or something, like just like,
sure,
yeah,
you know, do it right and do better the second time. Because people are like, well, you know, and it was hard for me to admit like that failure, because like I take pride in doing everything myself, but I'm like, you know, I made a video, I'm like, it's not good enough, I'm sending it off, and this guy's gonna help me, and that was like a big, you know, gut punch to myself, to my pride of doing it all myself. But you know, that's part of it too. So
there's big money spent on professional paint jobs that have to be redone.
Yeah.
Right?
It's, you know, it's a tricky process to do cars like what we all do them. You're really not supposed to use any of those materials to do that. So anybody trying to achieve that look, that finish, you're kind of pushing all those materials out of their comfort zone.
Right.
And expecting perfection, and you want the perfection to like sustain. It's really, really difficult. Paint's tricky stuff, man.
I'm like, I can fly a jet around the world easier than I can paint a car. I mean, like, much respect to the people that, you know, that's another thing, just all these trades and all these different things. I mean, like the skill set that people have in different industries and different trades and everything, it's impressive, you know. A lot of people may look at me and be like, oh my gosh, you're a jet captain, how could you ever do that? And I'm looking at this guy like, you can paint a beautiful car, how can you ever do that? Like,
well,
you know.
Yeah. Flip side, you probably don't want to be on the plane with a guy who's trying to fly a jet for the first time from his garage.
That's true. That's true.
You can deal with a a shitty paint job.
Fair point.
I don't want to. But what's even, I mean, not to glaze over on the paint process. Forget the application and any of that kind of stuff. Once it's done, the learning and the training of your eye of what to look for, regardless if you know how to do it up to this point and how to fix it, knowing what you're looking for and, you know, holding your head that right, finding that right light and seeing what you're looking for. Because a lot of people, once it's out of the gun, it's shiny. It's a color and it's shiny, right?
Yeah. I sort of wish I could go back to that. You know, like if I could.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, I'd love to undo all the knowledge I have. And
now you can just walk by at 20 feet, whatever. Like,
be back to like 12 years old.
Damn
and
it.
It's like, whoa,
I like the blue one.
It's shiny. It's a muscle car. It's shiny.
It's shiny. Once you start seeing that, then you can't sort of unsee it.
It
sort of
ruins
ruins
the way you look at cars.
Ruins you for life.
Especially after years of it. And like you said, in the constant pursuit, there's never been like perfect glass, the entire car, ever.
Even when we were out at that event in Pahrump, you're looking at, well, that's a Bugatti, and that's the paint finish you get on a $3 million Bugatti.
Yeah. You're going to have to
and,
rub that thing out some more. Right. It's just, but like you said, but even for you to go to the step of like, yeah, cutting it and buffing it, and I'm still looking at it and like the finish isn't right. There's so many customers that have had, you know, multiple cars, you know, literally I've made the joke for years of the guy. There's always this customer multiple times that you're in the midst of a big build with, and you know he's wanting everything super nice, right? And he's talking about, you know, he needs to be on the caliber of these award-winning cars, and we need to debut it at this show, and I want everything nice, and enjoying the process. Then you get a car dropped off that you haven't started on yet, you know, and he shows up to the shop and he's like, oh man, that thing's phenomenal. Did you guys just paint that? No, we're about to strip that down. That's the worst paint job ever. Oh, thing's slick to me. And now you're like, man, what is, we're fixing to go through the gauntlet, you know, of 7, 8, 9 months of rubbing out the bodywork and then putting paint on just to rub it all back off again. And you're like, that looks good.
Yeah.
Drop it off at Earl Scheib and picked up in the afternoon.
Yeah, paint's tricky, man. And then you see stuff like, I'm sure you saw the Gap Corvette that was in our booth. I mean, that just blows your mind when you look at quality of paint, bodywork, and finish.
Yeah.
Like, probably on a fiberglass car, too. I mean, probably as close as you can get to perfection.
It's as close as I've ever came to repeating the stupid customer comments that you've always gotten. Right, man, how many coats clear is that thing? Because that's
47.
That's the first time where I'm kind of like, man, I want it because it's got a lot of coats of clear. It's just
that's impressive.
But because it's got that wet,
yep,
perfectly slick look. It's a great car to do it on too. The angles and it. Paint is that would, above everything else that you talked about, learning, researching, taking on. That was the one that I was most surprised, and I was like, oh, well, let's see how this ends up. Like that's hard.
Maybe I'll wrap the Chevel.
Yeah. So you have no color in mind? When you start one of these, you don't see the you have a vision. You know,
this body I got from these guys, it's got so many problems. I'm just like, I've considered junking it and starting with another car. So it's like, I feel so deep in it right now that I literally haven't even thought about it.
How much more rust repair do you got?
Man, I've just been moving so slow on it. It's hard to even say.
Rocker's good on it?
Yeah, the driver's side rocker's got some rot at the bottom, so I think I can section out the area where the problem is. Though I've got, the piece at the house. I'm definitely a little over my head on this one.
Front and back glass channels, like on the blower stuff. That's good.
Yeah, they're okay. They're okay. It's still got, they covered it up with some primer and stuff. I need to still get the thing down to bare metal. Like I've kind of gone out of order trying to get I was trying to get the mini tubs and the tunnel done before the chassis showed up. So I was there, and then I was going to take it all down. Because then another thing is my pace of progress is so slow. I'm like, I don't want to take it down to bare metal yet because it's didn't get rusty while I'm working on it. So I'm just kind of leaving what's on there until I'm ready to get to that. And
just spot blast out the areas that you're going to get to.
Yeah, so I'm on the struggle bus on this one, but I like the challenge, and I'll get it worked out.
You'd be surprised at how many more followers you might get if you hit that thing with 80 grit on a DA and hit it with some Gibbs oil and then a scuff pad, and then take the right picture.
Be like, oh, look at all the metal work I just did. Look, it's so slick.
Yeah, just take a clean part, the quarter, like the middle of the quarter that's already clean, and do that.
What motor and trans you running in the Chevel?
It's got an LT4 and the T56. Got the carbon T56 from Bowler.
You get the
scored you an LT4. Good job.
Yeah, Thomas hooked me up with that. I don't know how he sourced that, but he did me, and then my buddy Dale, that 74 Bronco right there that's in my picture with the Mustang, he's building a 63 split window now, and so he's doing an LT4 for that. So Thomas came up with both of those.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that'd be a nice little combo on there. That LT4, I mean, that's another step up, and when you talk about just the challenges and what you got to learn. I mean, you got plumbing and heat exchangers and pumps and things. You're certainly not bashful about stepping up for a challenge on any of these.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like the experience of the other cars has given me confidence that I can figure it out and make it happen. And I know there'll be some frustrations, and I feel like I also like building the other cars. I've learned just to walk away, and not lose my mind in the garage there and just come back the next day at it fresh. So definitely learning some more patience and getting more confidence in the ability to work out issues.
On the LT4, this is a long tie-in, but I'll get there. So tie-in, talking about HP tuners, right? HP tuners, great. You're going to need HP tuners on that LT4 just to get that throttle and that tip in exactly where you're going to want it at. HP tuners going to come in key. HP tuners was also key in making the party happen at SEMA. Funny tie-in with Auburn. Andrew from HP tuners actually got a start down there at APR down there in Auburn. So it was a tie-in.
Yeah,
around the circle there.
Did you know Stephen Hooks at APR when you were?
No, I did not. I knew of APR, and we bought parts from them way back in the day when I was into the import thing for a lot of S4 parts and stuff like that. When you could make an S4 just a fucking rocket ship.
What's an S4?
Audi S4.
Got it. Yeah.
Tune, downpipes, exhaust, and fast little cars. But we've got the connections with HP tuners. You're going to need that.
LT4 is tricky when you get into the tuning. Probably much better when a manual trans is behind it. But it's a different animal, and to get them to behave and get the throttle response out of them like you'd like to see in an LS, it's a fight. But when you get it, it's great.
I used like a HP tuner on the LS376 in the Camaro, and then I used like a remote tuning company like PCM of North Carolina, I think it was. They did it for me.
Cool.
So that's the thing. It's like I don't have the knowledge base of doing the tuning either, so that's not something I'm going to mess with. So I'm going to find somebody that can help me.
You've got to know what you should mess with and what you shouldn't. And the tuning is 100%. So there's enough good guys out there. You got to reach out.
Yeah, we bring it up more on the LT4 just because everything needs a good, proper drivability tune. It just makes the vehicle that much better. LT4s benefit from it a lot, especially if you're coming from a knowledge base from the LS and the feel of that low end ass and, that little bit of a tip in where you could move the throttle, that. I'm saying that, right? You have to watch me to see them do it. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. That little bit, and then the car does something where if you do that little bit in an LT4,
it's either dead or keeps going.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything, and then it does something and you're like, oh, this is not right. And it can get really, really good. Those things wind up though. They surprisingly for little drama, they start moving on you pretty quick. All right, we talked about the Chevel. We talked about what's going on with the Chevel. You know what's crazy timing? I wanted to take credit for him, take credit for it today, but Scott came in a little early. Irvin gave him a great tour. He went over to Island Lake, and just look what happened to be being assembled at the same time that he was there. That was his Chevel chassis.
It's good timing.
Yeah, that was really neat to see it in that stage.
Told him that would have been a smart thing to
had we staged it,
had we planned it.
Every once in a while, it just works out.
Because I thought about it prior to SEMA, and 100% just lost sight of it with everything to do with SEMA. And then I saw your little video up, and then you're talking to Josh assembling it. And I'm like, holy shit, that worked out great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But then I had to tell him, like, dude, that was just luck, completely luck.
But I was expecting the chassis delivery in early December, and now I find out it's going to be next week, and I'm in really the panic mode now.
We can hold it back.
We can hold it if we need to. Sometimes you get those little happy surprises.
I think that chassis delivery thing is key to sort of preparing you and testing you for building a car.
Yeah.
I've always found, like, I pride myself on being able to do things myself that would usually take lots of people to sort of either move it or figure it out. And getting a chassis in a 15-foot long crate that's like 1,000 pounds out of the back of the truck, if you're resourceful enough to figure that out and get creative, that's what car building's all about.
There's been a rare couple of instances over the past several years where a customer has called at the point of the truck is here and they had no plan and they don't know what to do, that I've contemplated, like, maybe go ahead and tell him to just bring it on back because
you're gonna have problems along the way.
This is not. Maybe this box ain't for you. Yeah. And it was literally. I mean, well-meaning. We worked through it and stuff, but it's funny the surprise when it's like, oh, I had no idea it was gonna be so big. Well, it's how big your car is. It's the same size as your car. It's just the underneath side. But the surprise of like, well, what do I do?
How am I gonna handle this?
Yeah. So just tell them to bring it with a lift gate.
Yeah.
Well, there's not a lift gate that exists that's going to help you with the chassis.
I had a similar thing with when the 4-post and the 2-post lifts were coming, but I managed to build those myself and get them in there. So it's a little bit smaller than the car, obviously, but
yeah, those are a challenge too. So you figure out all right, I'm gonna
tap into
get this crate in this way, and stack it up.
I got that little 9-foot ceiling in my basement garage. So Ben Pack makes like a 2-post lift made for 9-foot ceilings, and there's maybe 1.5 inches the thing. Well, that top post has got all the hydraulics and it's super heavy, and I was like, man, it's gonna be really hard to get this up there, and you can't lift it from above because it's all the way at the ceiling. So my wife and I also have like a college group of students we do some mentoring with and stuff, and at the time we had a kid that was on the football team, Ryan, and he was an Auburn offensive lineman, 320 pounds, and I said, hey man, can you bring one of your lineman buddies over, and I'm gonna lift this thing up with my engine hoist as high as I can get it, and then I'm gonna need you guys to like get the last 2 feet up there. And so he shows up, him and another Auburn offensive lineman, we got 650 pounds of meat down there, and they put it on their shoulder. They get on the ladders and they put it on their shoulder, and my 6 foot, aluminum ladder just starts bowing. And it wasn't happening, so it ended up taking 4 of us to get the thing up there. But that was like the biggest obstacle in putting one of those things together so far.
Too bad you're not an Alabama fan. You could have called one offensive lineman, and he would have done it. You can't not do it.
I know.
It's just
I've been biting my tongue for an hour.
It's just the way it is. Oh, we already talked about the kick 6 downstairs.
I've been beaten into submission. We haven't had a positive Auburn football moment in almost a decade now.
I didn't go fully into it, but I did tell them zero interest in sports until it's Alabama losing, and then a level of excitement, and then also they don't know. He doesn't know hardly any. He doesn't know a lot about sports. Phil knows enough, but then his way of screwing with me is to act like he knows nothing, and it's always
the cleverness of fucking with you.
Hey man, I just happened to be watching that Alabama Auburn game, so that kick thing, so if they return it back. And that's wild. So now I guess you guys just lose the game then because they got that.
Did they not tackle him? Or you're not supposed to tackle him?
It looks like nobody tried to stop him, and he just ran it back. And that's wild. I've never seen anything like that. Even the announcers said they've never seen a loss like that. Like, dude, shut up. I hate you.
I'm sure you were Monday crying. For you.
It was, we went through the whole. Scott knows Alabama Auburn thing. We can't not, when opportunity arises, you have to do it. It's duty.
And I mean, I probably enjoy Alabama losing more than I enjoy Auburn winning. That's the reality of it.
It goes both ways.
You're a lot happier lately.
We got to. I watched a football game where they took the W. Is that what you said?
We watched Alabama LSU in Vegas at the Sportsbook. It was a fun time.
I'm sure you had a great time.
Yeah, so they scored bunch of points and shit.
We had a good time. We ordered some food. We had some drinks. It was the experience.
Yeah, it was the camaraderie. Wasn't threw the pigskin around a little bit.
So stupid.
Got to watch a World Series last
World
couple
Series
innings.
was actually cool. I like that.
We did what? Yeah, it was pretty good last game.
It's exciting.
Watching sports in a sports book is one redeeming quality of Vegas. It's always makes when it's a big game. That atmosphere, it's a fun time. So we went through SEMA, we went through the Chevel build. You're probably not deep enough in to be thinking about what the next build is yet, are you?
No, I'm not.
It's Chevel.
Everybody asked me that. I'm like, man, I haven't even thought about the color yet. And people are like, what's the next build? I'm like, but I will say that Gen 3 Camaro chassis and the Fox body chassis is something that really, I think I told you, but my best friend in high school growing up at one time, and this was my first car, but I had a 91 LX50 Fox body, and he had a 90 Camaro RS red T-tops. And I'm like, and we're still best friends. I mean, we've been best friends since 3rd grade, and it's like, how cool would it be for us to build them and stuff? And he's got his dad's 66 Corvette convertible that his dad had when we were in high school, and he'd sneak it out and stuff. And some years later, my buddy's taken ownership of it and done a restoration on it. So he's a car guy too. That's cool. So I'm like, it'd be pretty cool, man, if we recreated our high school years and had a Roadster Shop Fox body and a Roadster Shop Gen 3 Camaro.
Badass.
And what part of Georgia you grew up?
I grew up in Dunwoody, north side of Atlanta.
Yeah. And that was, what year did you graduate high school?
92.
Okay. A little bit forward. I did a lot around in Dunwoody. Yeah. Chamblee.
Yeah.
Where's Columbus at?
Columbus, Georgia?
Yeah.
Not anywhere near Atlanta.
It's Columbus is about 50 southeast of Atlanta.
Okay.
Maybe. I kind of live in Auburn, Alabama, so I'm about 80 miles down the road from Atlanta. I'm probably 30, 40 minutes from Columbus.
What are you doing
Georgia.
in Columbus?
That's where my buddy Mixer's from.
That's
right.
where
they put that $100 bill on the dashboard.
So
another Fox body.
Luckily, so when me and Jeremy and Phil met probably 17 years ago, and very quickly, they'd always make fun of me from being from the South, but very quickly I realized that Jeremy in particular picked up on some Southern things that he shouldn't have. right?
Had an inside.
He had an so one of his best friends in high school moved up here to go to high school from Columbus, Georgia, and he starts telling me, I'm like, oh, well, dude, yeah, the frayed hat and the Explorer on the Thornbirds, like, you got an inside track of that era of Georgia that most people don't. So he knows, yeah. You've whispered, you've watched the gorillas from afar, so so to speak, that you shouldn't. Most people don't have that inside knowledge.
We'll look behind the curtains.
Mixture ain't country no more, though, is he?
He's a little polished now.
He's a little polished.
Yeah,
he's a lot. Well, it comes to standard question time. Standard questions brought to you by Standard Wheels, HRE. A lot of HREs out there at SEMA this week. A lot of HREs.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously got a big presence out there.
Yeah. First up. Where are we going to go first up? We'll just get straight into car. So you graduated high school in 92 in Dunwoody, Georgia. Your first car you bought or was a gift?
I bought it, but I should probably qualify it. My dad, I have a sister that's 2 years older than me. This was I got my license in 90. My dad had a 82 Honda Accord. He said, you and your sister can share this car, or you can get a job and you can buy a car you want. So the summers, I was 13, 14, and 15. My grandfather was a plumbing contractor, do new house construction in Colorado. Summers, I was 13, 14, and 15. My mom shipped me out to Grandpa's house, and I worked 40 hours a week plumbing houses to save money to buy a car. So I bought a car because I wasn't willing to drive the 82 Honda Accord.
Okay. That's telling. Very telling.
And it wasn't the 92
Yeah,
Camaro?
You hinted at it. No, it wasn't the
it wasn't the Fox body.
No.
No.
LX. Yeah.
That was my second car.
Okay. Josh, this should be on you. This is your territory. This is your time frame.
It's a little early for me. It's a little early for me. I'll be honest with you. Not that
like a couple years off. Dude, I got my license in 96, 97?
Was the Ford Probe out yet?
No, 94 was the first year of the I think 94. The earlier gen was at that point, but he's not going after no Probe. You got to be a means to be able to get a Probe GT.
Did you go, like, what was your kind of vibe back then? Were you guys like riding down to Panama City to roll down the strip on the weekends? Were you hanging around town? Like,
just kind of hanging around town.
Okay.
Stone Mountain cruising?
No, we were
no Stone Mountain.
Yeah, it's funny. We weren't cruisers.
Really? Mm-mm. Okay. That's
And you were.
My wife likes to claim that Dunwoody is not the South. I'm not really from the South.
Well,
I don't know if you know Dunwoody.
I know. Yeah, I wasn't gonna. Yeah, I mean, it's not Buckhead or Roswell, but it's close.
All I could think, I'm going to just say the first thing that comes to mind, and I see it as a 2-wheel drive step-side Ford Ranger with a 5-speed.
No.
It's just popped in my head.
That's fine.
I got nothing. I had no frame of reference.
He didn't want to drive the Honda Accord. You said the Honda Accord was what year?
It was an 82.
82.
Baby blue 5-speed.
I'm going with 3 Series BMW. That's just my pick.
It's a pull.
I mean, if I still had this car, I could buy one of your chassis for it.
Yeah, way off.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go square body truck.
No, a square body's not. They're not bringing that kind of. I mean, maybe base frame, base price, entry level.
I stand by my statement if it's obviously wrong, but all right, that's our guesses.
It was a 67 Mustang convertible, red, 289, 3-speed.
Really?
Yeah.
Way off.
Classic car.
Whew. That's probably about as far as we've missed.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. I really wasn't.
We've been off for a while. This is almost a full month off.
I just was not expecting. So what? Just because it was a muscle car was convert. What's the draw?
Well,
at 16.
Well, this will kind of like tie into the police story if you're.
We're going there.
Let's go right to it.
My best buddy that ended up having the Camaro, when we were about 13 years old, his mom had a '69 Mustang Mach 1. 351 that sat in the drive. She bought it new, so this was like 13. We were 87-ish. We would sit out in that car in his parents' garage, and that was the car that he was supposed to have, and that was going to be his car when he was 16. And that just got me into Mustangs because that was like, there weren't like muscle cars around. None of my friends, none of my friends' parents had muscle cars or anything like that. I had no exposure to that. So I was kind of had this exposure to the Mustang. We would sit inside the garage in the dark in the Mustang and be like, yeah, we're going to be driving this. We're 16. It's cool. So that got me into Mustangs. And then when I started working when I was 13, that's what I was working for. I wanted to find an old classic Mustang to buy. So we bought that thing for $5,000 and, about 89. I was 15 when I bought it. And,
wow.
That's funny though. It wasn't that old of a car.
No. No, it seemed like it was old at the time, but it really wasn't.
We talk about that. We've talked about a bunch here lately. Is when we were in high school, what we looked at as 67, 68, 69 Mustang Camaro seemed so classic. I used the example of a 90
Camaro now.
a 95 Honda Civic or 94 Camaro or something. You're like, holy shit. It doesn't seem like that old.
Check the math, but like in high school, I had a 69 Camaro, but you think of the age, like think about how old a Model A Ford was. Like today, the Model A Ford is probably as old as what that 69 Camaro was.
Right. Yeah,
right?
Because that's like 50 years ago, 56 years ago.
If you think about that gap, I mean, the shit in
so like 90, you'd
60 years.
Call it 60 years.
So 30, that's it. Like that's why. Like that's a primitive automobile,
But if you take a Model A and a 69 Camaro, they look like they're 100 years apart.
Right.
Yeah.
But now you look at like a car that was 30 years old today, like an OBS pickup. It's just a car. It's a truck. It's just a truck.
It's a used truck.
Right.
Is what it is.
It's got cup holders. I remember all the things. Like, it's nuts.
Man, we're getting old, man. Yeah. We're getting old. Well, since you brought it up, perfect segue. The most memorable law enforcement interaction story.
No, I don't have a lot, but we'll set this up. So my buddy that we would sit in his car and dream about him driving that Mustang. His birthday was December, so he was like the first one in the friend group to get his driver's license. So December 6th, his birthday, he gets his driver's license. I don't know, about December 8th or so, my parents are driving me home from work, and I passed this fence off the side of the road, and my buddy and his dad are over there fixing the fence. That's not their yard.
Not his fence.
What's going on here, man? And so his dad had like a Caprice Classic at the time that the second day my buddy had his license, he managed to leave the road and go through this fence. So now they've decided that he's not driving this 69 Mustang because it's, family car and they don't want to mess it up. So I don't remember the exact timeline, but maybe a couple days, maybe a week later, he comes rolling, and we know, this is before cell phones or anything. So he comes rolling into my driveway in a brand new red 90 Camaro RS T-tops, and I'm like, so you wrecked the Caprice on day 2.
Good play.
And now you have a brand new Camaro. Like
perfect.
Okay, so and this guy drove like a maniac. He ended up becoming an Air Force fighter pilot at 16, war guy. He spent a good, one day after Veterans Day today, but he spent, a good 25 years in the Air Force flying fighters around, and he drove that Camaro.
Hey, hats off to him.
He was meant to be that Air Force fighter pilot after driving this Camaro. So anyways, we're driving around just on a Friday night or something, and he's, in a 35 mile per hour zone road, and he just loved passing people in the left lane, and we're going about 80. I'm in the back seat of that Camaro. My other buddy's in the front seat. Head to head, all of a sudden the blue lights. And he's going 80, 90 maybe in a 35, and we're head to head with the blue lights. So he ducks around, and we had a lot of separation speed on that cruiser. So by the time he got turned around, we ducked into a neighborhood and pulled into a driveway, and we're never seen again. And of course, the story propagated by the time we got back to our friends that Steve outran the cops and all this and that.
12-mile chase.
Yeah. But really,
I just think they were shooting at us.
We really just went one hard corner, ducked into a neighborhood, and pulled in the driveway, cut out the lights, and sat there for like 30 minutes.
Never miss a good legend.
So that was probably the most memorable police experience. I don't have many to draw from them, but that was a fun one. And thinking about him wrecking that car through the fence on the side of the road was pretty dang funny.
It's wild. You think back. I was having this discussion with my wife the other day. We were talking about our son. My son's 19, doing really, really good. Became very responsible now. We had he probably should have went and been a fighter pilot. Definitely that
level of speed.
Adrenaline rush. Unfortunately, took a lot after me. Where it's the answer to everything is what's the worst that can happen, right? It's just, hey, we woke up today. If we're gonna live this life, let's live it, right? Let's live it all the way. Let's put it on the rev limit. We were talking. I remember back being in that era, right? It's funny, and you guys remember this too. The vast difference in mindsets within minutes of we are having the night of our lives. We are untouchable.
Oh shit!
We are going to prison for the rest of our lives, and neither one of them were true extremes, But I mean, the music's up. And you're cruising down the road and something stupid happens and you think that this is the funniest thing ever and nothing can touch you, to all of a sudden feeling like you're running for your life. And if you are caught, that mooning, or that, chunking of a bottle rocket, something, all of a sudden you're going to federal penitentiary for the absolute rest of your life. And
do you remember that weak feeling that
you get? It's like you're jumping something.
It's like in your dreams, or like when you're fighting somebody in your dreams, and it's like, you remember that running away from something as a kid?
Oh, the lightness.
Yes.
Yeah. But running fast, running scared, in your mind, there was nothing you couldn't do. 10-foot fence, no problem. I'll jump it in one leap.
Clearing everything.
Yes. Yeah. And then you get back and you're like, so my pants are ripped. I'm bleeding. I am. And then the adrenaline does not matter. But it's funny, in one instance, it could be the time of your life. And then you're just like, if we can just get out of this, I'll never do anything stupid. And then the next night you're like, it wasn't that bad. We got away with it. Let's just do it. It's funny, the young teenage boy's mind that.
Yeah. We're just getting into that at 14. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's fun times.
My son got pulled over yesterday.
What?
That was
driving what?
Driving his go-kart.
Really?
So
in the neighborhood?
Segway electric go-kart.
I should have ran.
It's not that fast. It's on road only. Gets pulled over by a county sheriff. Calls for backup. Second car comes. Both of them get out, read him the riot act, that he's going to jail. They could impound his go-kart. He's never going to get it back.
I'd have a problem with that.
Yeah. He was crying in verge of tears. He's 11 years old. Scared the shit out of him. Like, what were you doing? He's like, I was just driving just down the road. Going to a friend's house. It's down the street. They said, 3 of the streets are private roads, so you can drive on that, but the one he was on is not. So just how about hey, baby, keep it over on that road in your neighborhood. That's a cul-de-sac. That's
this Lake County.
Yeah.
If I hope these 2 cops are listening. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so dumb. We've had so many great stories of people doing dumb stuff, and it takes that right cop to be like, hey, you're doing something stupid. You're doing something stupid. This is, you go home, be safe. A kid on a go-kart, and a mini bike, a dirt bike.
Can't even go off road. So he's not tearing up anything
in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's stupid. Yeah, I didn't know that. That honestly
yesterday.
pisses me off. That's really stupid. You must have high crime over there in your neighborhood. They're patrolling like that.
I think it was the biggest bust of the month.
Yeah,
of course.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. Music in that Mustang. What's the go-to CD at that point in time?
Not a CD.
Or tape. 92.
Not a tape either.
90? It's a tape.
Now you're getting into I thought you were talking about the first car.
I had the CD player with the thing that went into the tape deck.
Okay. All right.
With the anti-skip protection.
Oh, of course.
Right,
yeah.
G-Shock.
Yeah. It was a G-Shock.
Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And some Van Halen, too. And I'm still listening to the same stuff in my new 65 Mustang. Same exact stuff.
When you find something you like, you go
stick with it.
I went back to there was a while that people that are going to be purists are going to hate this album, but Metallica's Black.
Yeah.
I love that. And the other day I got it on Spotify. Just for some reason it came up and it was like, oh yeah, absolutely. I just ran through it like 3 times.
I mean, who doesn't like that album? That's a good album.
I think Metallica purists at the time, there was a whole thing that was
too trendy and mainstream.
Yeah, they did not like that album.
It's a good album.
Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I remember there was controversy around that album. All right, next up, we're gonna deviate a little bit, and then we'll go back on track. I want 2 questions. One, the best piece of advice that you could give somebody that's never been to SEMA before that's going to go next year, and then second, best piece of advice you could give to somebody that's going to start a new car project that's never built one before.
The best piece of advice I got for SEMA was good shoes. But I would say, dive into that app and look and see what you want to see and kind of have a plan for what you want to see the best you can. Because, as a pilot mind, I'm used to, directionally figuring stuff out. That app pissed me off, man, because it would, you would just hit the building. And I'm sure you guys probably need to use the app. You just know where to go. Yeah. But for my first time, I'm like, I need to use this app. And so you'd hit and bring up North Hall, but it was no inclination to what position you were standing in.
Oh, gotcha.
I can't tell where I'm going on this thing.
You need the old "you are here," in the mall.
So I'm and then you have to back out of it to put in another. I'm like, okay, well, there's this booth right here, and then I got to back out of it and type that name in, and okay, now I find out where I'm in. So that kind of ticked me off, but having a better plan of what I want to see probably would have been smarter. But I don't even know if it's possible because there's just so much of everything.
It's an interesting. Yeah, you almost need the whole floor plan.
It's almost got to tie into actual GPS.
Or Google and then you could at least map it beforehand. Be like this booth, this booth, this booth, this booth, and then draw your own. All right, well,
you could put your favorites in there. I had the Roadster Shop booth marked, and some other stuff I wanted to see, and it showed me where it is in the building. But then it's I don't know which way I'm angled in the building, man.
Best route or whatever.
And I would say, best piece of advice for somebody planning a build is do your research. I'm a big researcher ahead of time to know what I'm getting into. That's another thing that, I get a lot of hate. When I won't disclose cost on stuff because people are like, oh, you're gatekeeping that information or whatever. And I'm like, if you can't figure out the cost for yourself, you don't need to be undertaking this build. I'm like, every freaking option you guys offer is very clearly laid out per how much it costs everyone.
30 seconds to Google.
Yeah. So I'm like, do your research, have a plan. And be ready to make mistakes. Be ready to take failure. Be ready to accept that things are gonna get screwed up. You're gonna have to do them over again. It's a hard process. It's not. And I probably don't show enough of my screw ups. I could easily do an outtake of me screwing stuff up and cursing and stuff, but I just don't. I don't want to present that, but I could.
No, the positivity that you put through with everything, and the little words of wisdom, the Bible verses, and even the way you go through stuff. It does. That's part of the secret to your success, and it's part of the lowering that barrier to entry, where it's kind of well, I know this dude's probably had some hard times, but he's still super happy, and he's telling me about all the good stuff, whatever. So if you were, we've seen those where it's just and sometimes it's doing it for clickbait, and sometimes it's doing it because they're just showing the real, but. The dude that's got his hands in his head that's sitting there at the back of the car. This might be it, guys. I'm not going to be able to finish. I'm quitting. It's just, I'm not cut out for this. Then somebody comes across that video and you're like, oh, I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to look like that. Maybe this whole thing isn't for me. The positivity, I think, is a huge part of your success, and it's a huge part of what you do for the industry, of making people at least think about it and do their own research to get into it and do it.
Yeah, I just want to encourage others to do the best with what they have available. And I don't feel like I have any special skill set. I'm just, willing to try. And, again, on the financial side of it, I'm able to spend more than a lot of people are on their project cars, but that doesn't mean that my car's going to be better or anything. It's just get in there and try and do the best you can and enjoy it. It's hard to verbalize the satisfaction of driving those cars down the road after I put all that work into them, and so it's I want to try to relay that what I can.
Yeah. On the research side of things, you said everybody do the research. How did you start off, and how have you changed the process now to try and weed through the BS and know what's legit feedback? Or, we all know that the internet, you search one thing, you can have 17 different opinions on it. What's your process for weeding through that? What was it like then, and what is it now?
I would say probably my biggest crutch is my buddy Matt down there in Auburn. That's my engineer buddy. That's so smart because, anytime I bounce something off him, he's just smart enough to be like, this is the way to go, or check this out, or let me look at this, and like an example of it, like when we first met, I was having a problem with like a vibration in my Cobra exhaust pipe, and I'm up there like looking up where it connects up to the collector and stuff, and he comes over and he just hits it at the back of it, and he's like hearing the vibration move. He's like, coming right to the midpoint of the pipe where the issue was, where it was like an attachment bracket. And I'm like, I don't even think that way, man. And so it's like, I've got, people around that I trust in their judgment. So I kind of rely on that judgment and don't try to figure it all out myself at times.
Let's see. Next up, standard questions. Where are we going at? We got all kinds that we can pull from now. We got such a
what else
vast array.
Are we going back to car movie, or what else we got?
I mean, we got to do the car movie. Favorite car movie?
I'm probably a Ford versus Ferrari guy. I'm always been a fan of Matt Damon, and he ended up on my flight a while back, and I got to meet him. And,
that's cool.
They brought him up. They bring like people like that up to the jetway door in a Porsche, and the driver came up, and he's like, "Hey, is a plane clean? We got a VIP. We're gonna bring up." I'm like, "Who's down there?" He's like, "Matt Damon." I'm like, holy cow, man. I'm like, cool. I think he's cool, man. I'm like, can I go down and talk to him? He goes, oh, yeah, he's real nice. Just go knock on the window. So I just knocked the window. I'm like, hey, I'm Scott. I'm your captain. We were flying him out to Albuquerque when they were filming that Oppenheimer movie from Atlanta. And I was shocked he's flying airline in the first place. But we talked for like 5 minutes, and he was as cool as you would hope he would be. Like, he was just so freaking nice. And then I was like, all right, Mr. Damon, the plane's ready for you. I'll get your bag. He's like, no, don't be ridiculous, man. I carry my own bag upstairs. And like,
I'm so surprised he's flying commercial.
I was too. I'm shocked. But like, it was cool. So and then I, after the fact, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even like talk to him about Ford versus Ferrari. It was like my favorite movie, and I'm like, I stumbled it. I was talking about some other stuff, and he was just so nice to the whole crew because he was the first person on the airplane, and it was actually we were still wearing masks, and so he had his ball cap on and his mask on in first class. I'm like, I bet the person next to him didn't even know it was him.
You probably like that. Yeah, it's a very good time for a lot of those celebs.
And Bert versus Stallone.
I mean,
you got to ask that.
I mean, Burt Reynolds drove a stock car in a chicken outfit. How can you beat that in Stroke a Race?
I mean,
I told Jeremy in an email. I think I emailed some about it, but like I feel like Burt always had better looking leading ladies also. So I give him credit for that.
Yeah, he may have won the battle, but I think Stallone won the war. Like, look at in the end, like Stallone's wife, second wife.
I understand that.
Should we bring up some of the Vegas?
Yeah,
we found?
Yeah. We'll go there. Just statistics.
Yeah, this might help your case.
I don't think it does.
You don't?
No.
Okay, because we were walking through and they have the like memorabilia store in Caesars, and it's just autographed pictures and boxing gloves and basketballs and everything. Up front, there is 2 autographed pictures of Rocky and a pair of boxing gloves. So I grabbed Jerry. I'm like, hey, let's walk through here while Josh is on the phone, and let's count how many Sylvester Stallone pieces of memorabilia there are and Burt Reynolds. Final total?
It's 13 Stallone.
And how many Burt Reynolds?
I don't remember if it was... Yeah, it was 0. There was none. There's none at all.
So it was you would say predominantly or only Stallone?
Heavy on Stallone.
So
this would be the same place that also sells the life-size replicas of Predator.
No, that was
the Transformers.
Store. Nope,
but it's the same
place.
This is the same mall.
Different
place.
So
if people go to buy extravagant, worthless things, right?
That's a political response. You sound like Gavin Newsom answering like why his remodel cost $150 billion and Trump's is $300 million.
The same place you can buy a 9-foot golden eagle, right? Or a movie quality Predator replica. So basically, a lot of things that nobody really needs or wants that you just go look at It's the one place you couldn't find any Burt Reynolds stuff. Nope. It's interesting.
There was a different angle you should have taken, but you just missed it. I'm not going to give that one to you.
Fine.
I was thinking you were making the point that Stallone was forced to sign all those things because he didn't have the success Burt did, so he needed the money. Is that where you're going?
See, that's a good point.
Also another valid argument. Yeah.
That's valid.
You could have gone with they were sold out because everybody bought all the Burt stuff.
Oh no, Bert doesn't play in those kind of games. Yeah. Bert's made his money. He doesn't.
You know what other games he doesn't play in? He doesn't play in slot machines because we went to multiple casinos that had Rocky slot machines. I did not see a single Eastbound and Down slot machine.
I know, but that's
one you didn't see.
No, that wasn't there either.
Bert's a legitimate actor. He was, right? A legitimate actor. He doesn't play in the novelty area stuff. You don't make slot machines on John Wayne, Francis Ford Coppola, people like that are world renowned, for their film achievements. It's the Wheel of Fortune and Pac-Man and Sylvester Stallone and other cartoon-like characters. It's not.
Has there been any age correlation between maybe older people like Bert and younger people like Stallone?
A little bit, but you get some wild cards. It definitely, I will say, I mean, it leans towards Burt Reynolds. There's probably more Burt Reynolds when you're comparing the two of them, but the Rocky fans, Stallone fans, they come in
diehard. They're diehard.
You put Burt Reynolds in the ring with Stallone in his peak physique of Rocky IV. Burt Reynolds is going out on a fucking stretcher, dude. On a stretcher. He's going to go out Apollo Creed level. And
Bert had 4 inches on him and played football. He got a scholarship to play football.
Reach advantage on Ivan Drago? What happened there?
The way you can mix real life and a movie as it's real life
doesn't matter.
I know.
It's
fine.
There's been a big Rambo playback on A&E regularly as I'm flipping through, so I always have to watch 7 minutes before it goes to commercial break.
And then I'll come back to this and then forget.
Yeah. No, I just don't want to sit through a commercial. Sylvester Stallone is the only one that can shoot a bow and arrow that makes rocket noises.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever saw that.
I have seen it.
I'd like to...
He shot down
I think Bo and Luke Duke could do that also.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Stallone shot down a Russian helicopter with a bow and arrow.
Did Bert?
No,
Look,
he didn't.
I think we can all agree on that. Can we all at least agree on this? That John Rambo in Rambo First Blood, as a character, dominates any Burt Reynolds character in hand-to-hand combat.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Okay.
I can also say, and this isn't make the win or the loss. The segment that we played of Stallone singing Drinkenstein in the Dolly Parton movie.
We all have weak moments.
I know. Listen,
right?
I let you get. We have to agree that has to be not even between Stallone and Bert. That has to be one of the worst moments of any actor's career ever. Something that if you had Stallone's money, I would scrub it from the existence of the internet. That is one of you have to agree. That's an embarrassing highs and lows.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassing piece.
I'm not going to defend it. It's not good.
It makes the nude photo shoot on the bearskin rug look nothing.
Okay.
I think that might have been the motivation for it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you get hit and keep moving forward. That was a pretty big hit.
It was. And he just decided to do that hit after he said the thing. So that's you're pro Bert, right? I mean, everybody generally is. That's fine. I would stay in the saddle just like you two. I respect that for not giving up.
I mean, honestly, it's a tough. I mean, I like them both.
That's the reason that the question is so good.
I wanted to try to come up with something original with Stroke Race or something versus all the other answers.
Stroke Race was a good movie. Yeah. They both have such passionate fan bases, and they're both great. Yeah. As a person,
the one thing that
Bert wins.
Well, something that I don't think has ever been touched on is that the 77 Trans Am, when you look at who wore it best or who wore it first.
Who wore it first?
Yeah. What
Bert
year?
Was first.
What year? Give me the year that
77, because the car hadn't come out yet. It launched in the movie.
When did Rocky 1 come out?
79.
Did it really?
Yeah.
You're sure?
Every vehicle.
You're sure of these stats?
I sounded sure, didn't I?
Yeah,
I don't think so, dude. Rocky 1 looks like an older film than Smokey and the Bandit.
Well, I didn't want to have to do this, but
what was he driving in Rocky 3 when they had like a Lamborghini Jalpa or something?
Yeah,
I mean, that was horrible. Like horrible. That crosses off any.
I don't know when he fires that thing up and backs out of there after he hears about what happened to Apollo. That's
76.
'77. Yeah, there you go. See,
77.
always following in Stallone's footsteps, right? Trying to one up him. And look at that look. Those funky jeans, the cowboy boots.
Funky. It's Wranglers. Just careful before you piss off
little baggy for Wranglers.
You know why? I don't have to tell you.
I know where you're going.
I don't have to tell you.
I know where you're going. But look at, dude, the fucking tiger jacket with the fedora and the leather tough guy gloves. Pull it up. Stallone Trans Am. Rocky One.
Oh, that's not the best look. He looked like a goober in that.
I disagree.
You told me I couldn't wear a fedora.
No,
you said anybody. You actually said anybody
that encourage you to wear a fedora.
You said anybody that wears a fedora.
Just pull it up so we can have a look. I want to see those at some point side by side. Rocky, you're the worst. Your Googling is like you're like an 85-year-old woman Googling things.
It's easy. It comes right there.
Actor.
Hat guy.
No, in Rocky 1, dude. He wore a fedora and a bunch of different things. You want to see him with the whole look. The tiger jacket.
That's the tiger jacket?
Yeah, the tiger jacket.
You're not going to find that.
And the tough guy gloves. Yes, you will. It's one of the most popular films ever made.
You make some statements.
Oh, my God. Damn. Dude.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's super
Holy
cool.
Shit. The one right there, up into your kind of center, over to the right, one over. Oh, look at that. Man.
All right. Here's my question. If you, or anybody, I don't care if it was just, I'm going to go with you, though. If you were to show up wearing that entire outfit tomorrow, anywhere, do you think more people would say something about that versus you or me or anybody wearing a red shirt and blue Wranglers? Who looks more like a cartoon character, like a figment, like something that's not real?
I'll tell you right now, I show up wearing that, nobody's saying shit. I guarantee that, dude. Guarantee it.
It's fictitious. It's fake.
What's fictitious about
because
that?
nobody dresses or dressed like that.
I could totally see both of you wearing that.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but we're badass. No, he looks like he looks. You know who he looks like?
Rocky Balboa.
No, he could have been in Grease. Like he looks like he's dressing up like.
Nah.
Yeah, that's like a motorcycle costume. Like we had an employee that used to wear one of those. That's what that is. That's a tough guy costume. You called them tough guy gloves.
Yeah,
it's a costume.
It's not.
Nobody ever has dressed. You've never met anybody that's dressed like that.
I've also never met anybody as badass as
Have you ever met anybody that's dressed like that?
Yeah. Pretty much everybody that goes to this little country bar down the street that looks like a jackass. Blow that up. Get closer in on it so we can... That's a movie poster. I don't want to see the movie poster. That's staged. I want to see it in its like natural environment.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's not cool. That's not cool at all. I don't...
Dude, here's what I want to see. Talk about cool. I want you to put on the side of your Raptor, I want you to put Bandit, okay, under the door. And I want you to roll up with your pink shirt with the sleeves roll up.
It's red.
Hairy ass arms and a cowboy hat like that and throw a little peace sign like that. And tell me if that's cool.
I'm telling you what, now looking at this picture right here, looking at this picture and everything about him, with the hat included, I didn't want to have to go here. This is my silver bullet. This is my silver bullet. And we can edit this out if this is going too far.
Okay. That's
more Neil than the other one. That right there is your dad.
So
with the cowboy hat and all the coolness and everything. He's that fucking badass.
It's a similar look, but I'll also say this. I always thought that, like, Rocky IV, when he's towards the end of Rocky IV, when he's dressed up, he looks just like my old man.
Okay.
Like, he used to wear...
I see that, the dressed up part.
Almost spitting image.
Yeah, but this most of the time.
Yeah.
The hat? The fucking Wranglers?
He had one of those. It's Charlie One Horse hat.
Yeah. Dude, the argument continues. There isn't a victory tonight. It has not been settled tonight.
Now this, I mean,
I'm not sure you guys are ever going to settle this one.
I don't think
probably
so.
Not.
Probably people are just going to stop listening.
No, this is like a thing people like.
It's just
like a fan favorite.
There's so many good comparisons. Like, you put that up against Lincoln Hawk's rig.
I know.
From Over the Top.
Yeah, and this one's better.
Yeah, trailer.
Yeah, the trailer for sure.
All right. Last but not least, we've asked about advice on SEMA and car builds. What's the best piece of advice that you have ever received?
My dad, 1,000,000 times, squeaky wheel gets the grease. That was his words to live by.
So good. So good.
It's true.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. There's always going to, we talk about it with manager training and stuff like that. There's going to be 100 things coming at you. There's going to be A problems, B problems, and C problems. Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
And you know, going about it the right way too. You know, pursue it appropriately without pissing the person off you're pursuing with, you know, to get the advice from or whatever you're looking for.
Right. Scott, this has been an absolute banger. I would generally apologize at this moment, you know, to a guest, but you've listened to them all, so you knew exactly what you were coming into. You had the lowest of expectations, so I hope we met those.
Oh, I had a great time. I appreciate you guys having me up here. I love seeing the facility today. I mean, it's really inspirational what you guys have built here. And
I appreciate it.
Like I said, you know, I've said it before, I just like surrounding myself with people that are better than me, and, you know, just walking around this factory and see what you guys built. It's awesome. Like, you know, it's walking around SEMA show and seeing y'all's presence there. It's awesome. So I'm proud to be able to, you know, build in my home garage with the products that you guys use here. It's cool to me.
Well, thanks, man. We appreciate you using them, man, and keep up the good work. It's inspiring to see. It really is. And you're inspiring probably more people than you know. So
I think you're playing a much bigger role in this industry than you think, and got a very humble approach to it. But the amount of people that we talk to that see the videos and say they help them, or just give them some confidence, some inspiration, and doing huge things for the industry. So can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
We never talked. We can end whenever we want to. Sure. We never talked about the reason that Scott's Camaro was even here.
Oh yeah, I've been keeping that under wraps, man. I got all these people asking me.
Are getting I think it's the Stallone Reynolds thing. We got carried away with that.
We did. So
we missed.
the reason his car was here is something that's been quite the secret. Like you said, you've been having to hold off the wolves for asking what's going on.
That's right. And we're gonna drop.
It was here for new ball joints. So that's the thing.
We're gonna drop a little bit of a teaser. We'll go into a little detail here, but we were in the process of developing a direct fit bolt-in stainless steel exhaust system for one of our most popular applications, which is the first gen spec Camaro platform. And we all kind of sat down, me, Phil, Josh, and we reached out to the sales team, Phil Smunt and Irvin, and we were trying to think of who would be sort of a great test mule for that. I mean, we've got some local cars and things like that, and your name instantly came up. And we looked at the car, saw some pictures of the car, and it just, everything was a perfect fit. The goal is to get this exhaust system in a built car and see a before and after. So all the engineering was done, exhaust was CAD designed, then it was hand prototyped, and then it was mandrel bent, and then it's fixtured, and then it's welded, and some different mufflers, 2 different muffler styles, a couple different tailpipe options were made. And we're fortunate enough that you supplied us with your car, LS3, 500 something horsepower.
Yeah, it's a 495 horse
490. So perfect application. Came in without tailpipes, but it had a pretty good exhaust system in there, so you got a good feel for what that car sounded like. And we were able to use it to install this prototype kit, which is pretty reflective of the final product, short of a couple little final tweaks. That's going to be coming here probably right around the first of the year. Reason being for this is that you talked about a lot of things on how that car went together and how you did it and your experience level. Almost everything on that car is sort of manageable for a guy to do in his garage to build one. The exhaust is always the one point, I feel, and I've heard from other customers, that it takes a lot of fabrication skills to do it. And we thought that they're repetitive enough. We've got good enough CAD data on them to sort of help customers out and make something that is an off-the-shelf, prepackaged part, bolts in that, ready to go.
It's also a hassle, if you don't do the fab yourself, because it has no exhaust, right? So it's not like you can just, I'm just going to drive it down
a little bit
and leave it and leave it, and it's the getting, calling back the same lady at the rollback and getting it transported, paying that money, leaving it for the exhaust, going over it with the guy, telling him to do this, right? And then, waiting for him to get started and paying the money to do that. It's not an easy thing. It's something that's been quite overlooked for quite some time, that it's just like, buy 2 mufflers, buy a box of tubing, cut it up, weld it up. A lot of people have done them.
Well, a lot of people.
Go ahead. I spent a lot of time getting that exhaust to what it was that you saw it, but it was my only point of dissatisfaction with the car. So when Phil called me and asked me about that, I was like, because I always meant to go back, but I just had turn downs under the rear differential because I did not have the skill set to get it up over the axle and out through the back, because there were just so many complex bends in there. And I'm like, that's where I had to draw the line. So I got that car done, and my intention was like, when I get better, I'm going to go back and do it. But I never did. And it was like, it had these turn downs, and it sat a little lower than the chassis frame rails. And I had a 2.5-inch exhaust. You guys managed to put this beautiful 3-incher back there, and it's spectacular. I'm like, I've been sitting on that video for months, so excited to show everybody else. And when you guys say it's okay, but it couldn't have been a more perfect offer for me, because I'm very hesitant to let anybody else touch my car or anything. Yep. And I'm like, God, if Roadster Shop's asking me, I can't say no to that, man. And
sure.
So, and it was the one area of the car that I was dissatisfied with. So it's been incredible since it's been back, and I freaking love it.
Awesome, man. Good to hear. There was, a tremendous amount of work, a lot of thought went into that. It seems like over the years, our customer base, with all the cars that we do, most guys want the car fairly quiet, which becomes challenging to do when you only have X amount of space to package a muffler. We've done some C10s, various trucks, where guys are actually going to the length of putting 4 full-size mufflers in it in place of a rear resonator to quiet it down. And then there's the other customers that they want that hot rod sound. So we sort of got the best of both worlds, which you've got to experience. That it's a valved muffler with a standalone vacuum module, and you can run that thing where it's pretty damn quiet, and I'd say it's civilized, right?
But they also, it works.
Yeah, but even in quiet mode, when you get on it, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't drive in quiet mode much, I'll be honest.
Then you pop it open, and it's not open header loud. It's just it's hot rod
more
loud.
Aggressive.
And we've been in the industry long enough. We've played with every exhaust cutout, every gimmicky valve, and we ended up connecting with pretty high end company that put together a kit that nails it. It's durable, functions awesome, sounds good. So. Until
they should be shipping January of 2026.
In January, and we'll be dropping some great,
a lot of good videos, instructions, sound clips. Tried to get everybody a good audio representation of what it is on, off, driving. It's awesome product that should be a no-brainer for anyone.
I think you're good to drop that video. You know what? Drop it.
Okay.
We'll take pre-orders.
No
problem.
And the thing of it is,
put names on a list.
If that was an option available for me to order, like 100%, I would order that. If you guys can do one for a 67 Chevel with an LT4, like, I'm all over it. Yeah. I don't care how much it costs. I'm ordering it, man. Because the exhaust fab is probably one of the most difficult parts of the build for somebody like me.
It is. It's the most difficult. It's the most expensive. That exhaust system will likely retail for probably less than what it's going to take a guy to order all the parts and materials
right.
to do one himself. The reality is to do it all at like the high end stainless bends and things that we do when we do custom exhausts here. You're probably you're north of $8,000 in something. I mean, probably around in 10.
Yeah, probably around in 10 grand.
Yeah.
You got 40, 50 hours in fab and $4,000 in materials and yeah.
And I'm a lot like you. My Camaro that's sitting there neglected. That was one of the things I did at probably 20 years old. I fabbed the front half of the exhaust out of stainless and put a X pipe in it, and then I just ran out of talent, I'd say, once I got to the mufflers. So that car still, to this day, it's just got 2 mufflers hanging back there, and that's one of those things that I weigh out when I'm like, man, I think I want to put a chassis in it, but God, I don't have the time. I know what it's going to take to do it. I know the amount of fab, and I look at an exhaust system, I'm like, man, it's 40, 50 hours to do it. That's going to push me one step closer personally to actually finally pulling the trigger and putting a damn chassis under that car.
Yeah, then you can just set the motor and trans in, put the exhaust in it, plumb it, have the whole thing, and then have in a weekend and swap it over.
And then have it sitting like that.
Yeah, just like that until you get to
at least 11 exhaust system, it'll be pretty close to being done. So yeah, we're getting close.
It's coming.
First of the year, there's going to be some good images, some good marketing that'll start rolling out there, and Scott's got the prototype.
Yeah. It's funny how many comments I get about my neighbors must hate me and stuff because, the Porsche is pretty quiet, but the Cobra and the Mustang and the Camaro make some noise. But I got an awesome group of neighbors, and they seem to like the cars and stuff. And there was funny. There was like a TikTok or somebody like how my neighbor thinks my car starts, and the guy started his car and the freaking house blew up. Said that to the group chat of the neighbors. They're like, yeah, but I think I do enough for their neighbors that they tolerate my loud cars coming and going.
Yeah, we were joking that the valve should be like neighbor mode and out of neighborhood mode. It's fire it up on quiet. Yeah. The second you leave the neighborhood, open her up and rip.
Scott, it's been amazing.
It's fun, man.
I'm glad we got that last part in. I just didn't want to end without getting the plug in and let some of your listeners know what you've been holding back for so long. It's been an amazing time. Glad to be able to get to know you and call you friend. You've done an amazing job for our brand, and Phil said you've done amazing. You're doing more than for the industry itself, and that's what's good. And you're a great guy.
I appreciate it. It's easy to do a good job for your brand because it's such good stuff. I mean, I don't, I'm not misrepresenting anything. I just represent what I think it is, and I love it. All the time people are like, "Oh, does those cars really drive like a new car?" I'm like, it performs like my take is it performs like a new car with the coolness of an old car. I mean, you're not going to have the same sound insulation and all that stuff, but the performance is there, and you're in an old car. It's like I love it. I love the package, and that's why I'm doing it for the 3rd time.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Can't wait to do it again, and can't wait to see that Chevel come together. Anybody that, if you're not one of the 7,500,000 people that are following you, then make sure you give it it's just Scott's Rides. It's super simple. Give him a follow.
On Instagram and TikTok.
Check him out. We'll see you again next week.